Kenya and the region has received a major boost following the signing of an agreement between Mount Kenya University, MKU, and the Abu Dhabi Maritime Academy. The two institutions last week signed a memorandum of understanding to co-design and deliver courses on maritime studies, artificial intelligence in maritime applications, and marine safety and sustainability. According to the agreement, the courses will be hosted at the Abu Dhabi Maritime Academy or virtually, with MKU gradually building local capacity. The two institutions will also collaborate in joint research and innovation initiatives aligned with Sustainable Goal Number 9, student and faculty engagement through MKU students interning at the Abu Dhabi Maritime Academy, and faculty exchange programs and guest lectures. 5 Palestinians were killed, including 2 children, and several wounded when Israeli aircraft struck tents for displaced people west of Khan Yunis, according to medics at the Kuwait Field Hospital. The strikes hit Gaza's coastal Al-Mawasi area. Medical teams said the dead were 2 women aged 46 and 30, a 36-year-old man, and 2 boys aged 8 and 10. Some 32 injured people were treated in hospital. The medics said the Israeli military said it had struck a Hamas terrorist after 5 of its soldiers were wounded early on Wednesday. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Good morning, and I love your show.
Thank you.
Having come from a Kikuyu radio background, I migrated to Spice because of the content.
I was born in a slum, but somehow I got a break in life. So sometimes when you see the sweating coming out because of the passion and whatever it is, behind the noise, there are people. And we share the same umbilical cord.
It shouldn't be like that. I am so disappointed. We used to tell Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga that he's doing policy of conmanship. And even President Uhuru Kenyatta, serikali hii ndio iko na conmanship ya hali ya juu. You cannot promise people that you reduce tax, then you double.
In politics, there is the issue of trust. For you to turn around and then stab the same people who gave you that trust, there is no other level of dishonesty. Imabo, utaona dunia tu.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
We look at the utterances of leaders who are aligned to broad-based, who are initially in ODM. We thought they stand for something. Now they've been exposed.
Because we are a third world country, we are poor. And not because we don't have resources, but we have been robbed senseless.
Look at the wasteful expenditure. Look at how large the government lives. And we've said this is something that can be controlled. It happens in many other countries.
Internally, we used to stand and tell him, boss, hii kitu ni mbaya. And you'd say, now he doesn't, let me tell you, you saw the other parliamentary group meeting. People went there, sat, listened, looked at him. There was no plenary, left.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
You have land, Dennis.
Yeah.
Okay, your own land. You use your own money to build it, and then you sell it to yourself.
But we don't want foreign troops on Kenyan soil.
But surely it goes a little bit deeper. This is it.
If you find a tree is withering, then you call the person who is managing that tree. Come around.
Yeah,
why don't tell me what is
first of all, what's the problem?
Yes, what is the problem there?
How do we expect ourselves to move forward as a country?
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
He himself actually has admitted that he bribed members of parliament, so...
he admitted that he bribed members of parliament?
Well, when he said...
The government.
Yeah, when he said that he gave the 10 million was for what?
We're always quick to point faults in somebody else before you look at your own
faults as a person.
If it was Kanu's day, hii amuka naye leo, ungekuwa umeenda bali sana hii. So and we must celebrate you.
There are 600 million people now globally estimated to be living with diabetes in the world. So it is a major health problem. It's the largest single disease rising pandemic that we're dealing with right now.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation. The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
Presidency is fairly interesting in the sense that it will actually take us to a new consciousness.
Swali zile watu waulizi na swali muuliza na shangala ni aje kwani huku kunaendaje?
30 billion shillings annually on travel alone in public service.
A Kenyan can even demonstrate every single day of his life that Ruto must go. That is the only message of his demonstration. That is his right.
That bribe blinds the eyes of the wise and subverts the cause of those who are in the right.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
One of the things that are in our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state of, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on SpiceFM.
SRC's mandate is constitutional. It's not an advice. It's actually something we must do.
Like now you abandon, of course, the narrative of Wheelbarrow, Mtu wa Mjengo, Mama Mboga, and all those, that narrative, that rosy narrative.
Your expenditure is 3.3 trillion and you're collecting only 2.5. Out of that 2.5, you're spending 1.8 trillion to service loans and so forth.
That the CDF kit, it's in itself a symptom of corruption.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
One of the things that are in our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state of, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay. Just like that. It's Thursday.
Yo.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Salama.
Yani, I feel like you know how those movies you watch when somebody has been transported in time, either it's backwards or forwards. I feel like I'm in...
You've been a time machine.
Like I'm 4 years old again. I don't know.
And you're not in Ethiopia.
Imagine.
Yeah.
And I'm not in Ethiopia. No. What's missing here?
What's missing? Where?
On this wall.
Yeah. It has been missing for 2 days now.
Oh! It's been missing since when?
2 days now.
Voila.
I think today is the third day.
Ooh, I need to take ashwagandha.
Yes, you'd get ashwagandha.
So that's...
Yeah.
Woo! I just need...
You did that thing.
He did like that?
Yeah, I remember that day when he was in here fixing
climbing
stuff.
things.
So that's the day he... Alien and I.
Like Curious George.
So that should have been on Monday, I think.
Oh, that was on Monday. Oh, wow. He was climbing the ladder?
Yes.
Like Curious George?
Kabisa.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so here we are. It's Thursday, the first Friday of the week. Already, we're here. How are you?
Go fresh.
Uko kabisa?
Kabisa.
Fantastic.
I can't complain.
Mimi nimefurahi kukuona.
Me pia. How do you say that in Yoruba or Igbo?
In Igbo, you know what? In Igbo is such a, I don't know, actually should be one of the romantic languages. Ifumunaya, as in, Ifumunaya is that you, how, God, you have pleased my eyes. How you are has pleased my eyes. Hey, in other words, good to see you.
Ifunaya.
Our languages just say it better, you know? Ifunamaya, as in, because like my name, I told you my name is Ifo, my middle name is Ifoma. Ifoma is a good thing. So now if I say Ifumonaya, my eyes have seen a good thing. So I'm happy to see you. Exactly.
Now you know.
You see? Now you know. Don't go and tell anybody else that too. It's only me.
That's us.
Okay.
That's our thing. That's our thing.
Bas. So we've confirmed that Uko Salama. I can see you. Good morning. How are you doing? You know, when you came earlier, I was not really awake. When I saw you before, I was still buffering. I think now we have reached 89%. By the time it gets to 618, Chocolate Apple 99, Nivi. So you'll just pardon me. Even now as I'm talking, I'm not seeing you, but, you know, we move regardless. And then I saw Christine and heard Christine. So we know that Christine is here. We heard Christine this morning. Woo! Somebody needs to give me the eggs she takes in the morning. Because what? Yeah. So, of course, Christine, making sure that you are able to watch the show later on and take the little bits and then bring you back into it. So that's what's happening. The ladies who are turning the wheels of steel, everybody's here. Joyline, good morning. And everybody, karibuni sana as we get into it today. Ndu and Dennis Aseto here with you today as we get into things proper. It's interesting because the indictments on the IEBC are coming in hot. Every corner, left, right, and center. And I guess, you know, it still is going to be the situation even as we look through it today. Sawa. So we have welcomed ourselves to Thursday. Thursday is now the day where we'll be discussing a number of things. Here we are on 7 o'clock. What? Okay, I just need to arrange the dictionary in my head so that I'm speaking English. Okay. We'll have a conversation at 7 a.m. and that conversation will be with Veronica Minor, who's a nominated senator, and Dr. Luchetu Likaka, who is a governance and security consultant. Post by-elections realignment, we saw that the minority whip in the Senate was done what?
Majority whip in the Senate, Dr. Boni Khalwale, was kicked out and replaced real quick because he did what? During the by-elections, he was campaigning for somebody else in DAP, Kenya. And we
so
see the same in Homo Bay.
Yes, and we're likely to see the same thing happening in ODM, that there might be some people who will be kicked out, and just because of that you showed your allegiance to somebody else. So what does this all mean? Should it be the MO?
I think it has actually even happened.
It has happened, Abi?
We have this gentleman, the one who was fighting with Duale.
Kibagendi. Yes, it has actually. It has actually. You're correct. Guy has a number of things coming for him.
Yeah.
You're right. It's actually happened, and so that's another thing that we're dealing with this morning. So we'll be looking at allegiances under scrutiny. So what are these allegiances really, and are they real or worth their salt? Because if we can have somebody kicked out real quick, then one would have to ask the question, how deep was it in the beginning? That's the conversation that we will then have at 7 o'clock. At 8 o'clock, the 49th president of the LSK is Nelson Havi. So we know yesterday, 2 days ago, you saw chiefs do what? 18,000, Abi? 18,000? 9,000? Well, one of those. Gather at State House. I'll get the number. 15,000. 15,000.
15, I think, yeah.
Chiefs and their assistants gather at State House because the president said now a number of things are going to happen now moving forward. We want to make sure that things like disinformation and misinformation are curtailed. We want to make sure that essentially you take this delivery unit and you spread it across the country. And the chiefs and the assistant chiefs now will be, they'll be telling you what's going on. Well, we'll look at we'll have a constitutional look at the mandate, the power of chiefs, what they can or cannot do. Is it taking Kenya back into the days where folks were afraid to even open their mouths or take a step? So we'll have that conversation at 8 o'clock. And then we're going to wrap things up at 9 o'clock with Emily Mukomunene, who's a health rights and advocacy champion. HIV domestic funding and the numbers. Now, HIV has been in existence for decades. There was a time where it was very bad, where people were dying. And that we saw horrible pictures. With the incoming of medication to then be able to prolong and enhance life and the quality of life, we have seen that it was then offered in government agreements whereby people would get aid, and because of that, people then were on this, life-saving medication for a long time. Now, with the dwindling of funding, do we see that it is very possible that those who've lived for the last 20 years on this medication could not have it anymore or would have to go into their pockets to get it? All this happening when, we're having that conversation where you said yesterday, come on, guys, we can be raw and say, strap it up. You can be very careful.
You can be very careful.
Things like mother and child transmission, things like passing on of the virus from one place to another, that you don't have control, that's being handled at a different level. But there's a decision that as in human beings we can make to say, you know what, we can be very careful with our behavior to ensure that we don't infect or spread or get this thing in the first place.
I think also as we have that discussion, I will also be focusing on the fact that President William Ruto is in the US, and one of the conversations, aside from the peace agreement between Rwanda and Congo, he's going to be signing a deal on healthcare provision for the next around 20-something years. So let's just see what that will mean, because remember, Donald Trump pulled out US aid. So what kind of agreements or arrangements will Kenya be getting into with the United States?
So those are the conversations that we have this morning. Thank you for already tuning in. YouTube, Facebook, and on X. That's where we are live. And our audience on KTN, good morning to you today. As you tune in, whether you're heading to work, doing the different things that you're doing, and just going on your daily sojourn as you tune in, thank you for doing that. And as we start to have these conversations, somebody said something to me yesterday, just off of Prime last night, and he said, you know what, impunity thrives in silence.
True.
Bad behavior thrives in silence. So why it is important, and that's why conversations are the currency in this day and age for change. It's what you pay. You use the conversation to get this thing. If you keep quiet about certain things, if you don't bring them to the fore, if you're not engaged in discourse, that is how a lot of these things get under the table. So sometimes you ask, so what's the purpose or what's the value of talking about it? It's just that you bring it out into the open and that you have people engaging. Once people are engaging, people are educated. educated, people are informed, it then becomes extremely difficult for you to get things under the table.
True.
That's why we have conversations. That's why we must continue to do them. And that's why we say thank you for joining us in the Situation Room. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Please give us today's proverb.
Yes, today's proverb actually comes from your neck of the woods, Western Africa, right? And talk about West Africa. So there is the aspect of talking. So when exactly do you talk?
Right. When I can't help it.
And I don't want to be short on this one. I don't want to be asked questions. But a fool has to say something. A wise person has something to say.
It's very true.
I think let's leave it for those online to interpret. And we shall be reading some of the interpretation.
For sure, but that one hit nicely.
A fool has to say something. A wise person has something to say. Like, hits different.
Kabisa.
Yo.
I don't even, in this case, I'm wise. Because yes, absolutely. It would be interesting to hear from folks as we get into things today. All right. So, thank you for joining us, guys, as you click into the room this morning. Karibuni sana sana. Don Sabo is here and says, good morning. Ndu, ask Aseto. Yes. Is there something in our constitution that is making Kenyans poorer? How are you, Ndu and Aseto? Are Singaporeans?
Singaporeans in waiting.
In waiting. Wow. Is there something in our constitution that is making Kenyans poorer?
There is nothing in the constitution that is making Kenyans poorer. It is the decisions that are being made that are making Kenyans poorer. Because the constitution and the constitution are all equal.
Yep.
But it's the policies then that get into the implementation of the constitution that is either making you poorer or richer.
There's your answer, sir. All right. Okay. Kiaria Peter says, good morning from Mombasa. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, or become more, you are a leader. If by what you, I love that. If that by what you do, what you say, give somebody else the impetus to do better, to learn more, then you definitely are a leader. Robert Toboko says, good morning from Mombasa. Also, Joseph Okondo is tuned in from Tudor in Mombasa this morning and says, good morning. Good morning from Menara, says Rose Grace. Please invite Alutalala again. There are still many things to clear on from their end. Look, you see how you go into a library and there are 1,000 books?
Yeah.
He only opened page 1 yesterday. And there are many things that needed to be clear. But if anything, I think one thing that came out clearly yesterday is that there seems to be a lot that doesn't want to be said, that doesn't want to be cleared up. And we can say it. And it's necessary for us to, it needs to be cleared up. We need to hold ourselves to a standard that is above reproach. Come on. You can't say, at least you go to a butcher to buy meat and then you get bones, there's no flesh, and you say, well, at least you got something. No. We have to do better, and we have to put ourselves against that standard. We have been getting away with at least for too long, and you want to go to first world.
Yeah.
We've been getting away with at least for too long. Stop it.
For me, I think what hurt me even most, and I'll say it, is the fact that we speak of a multi-agency approach, yet we're just working in silos.
I mean, come on, tell me. We know in a should I start? No, let me just greet people first. Because where we are going, we're hurtling real quick. But yes, I hear what you're saying, Grace. Good morning to you. Robinson Gatiba is tuning in this morning. You read the 9 o'clock news last night and very impressive. Thank you so much, sir. I am really very grateful for that. Desmond Otis, Dennis, ask Ndu that 3K stipend after tax in a Ngapi. Tax ni ngapi?
16%.
16%. Hapo umeshatoa almost 500 bob. I think hapo unabaki na some 2,500 hivi. Kitu kama hiyo.
Kidoka hiyo.
Sindio? All right. Elizabeth Njeri says, good morning, Singaporeans. How are the chiefs with iPads behaving? Sasa leo tutasikia. The chiefs will have tablets. Na si ile ya kumeza. You wish they were. Exactly. Leo says, hello, Princess Ndu and Aseto. Good morning to you. Which assets are we pawning to Trump after the reported cancellation of the Mombasa Road dueling? And why, for heaven's sake, do we take worship team instead of policymakers? Sunday to the America, why wouldn't you take your most brilliant of minds to have these conversations? This is our problem. You know, we talk about this table where everybody wants a seat at the table. But then the person who should be at the table having the discussion is in Nairobi. And the people that you've taken don't know their, let me just say ABCs.
ABCs, eh?
Can you tell I'm a bit irritated this morning?
You know, I was watching something yesterday where there's this guy who someone who's big on history and geography, and he was just breaking down how everything has been skewed to make this part of the world, especially the global south, not being important, and that starts from what we see on the global map every day.
Yeah.
But did you know that Africa is larger than Europe, Asia,
put together,
and the US put together? But what do you see on the map? Let's continue.
Okay.
That's just for conversation's sake.
I said I should continue. I'm doing what I'm told. I'm actually quite obedient. Tips Mungai says, good morning, SpiceFM team. Keep an eye out for Mali. Yeah, keep an eye out for Mali, guys. We've seen things happening in Guinea-Bissau. Also, things might be rumbling in Mali. There is a trifecta of countries in that area right now that rumblings are beginning. There's a reason why it's called the coup belt. I don't really like that phrase, but there's a reason why it's been ascribed to that area. Some things are cooking, and it's something to watch. Michael Olanda says, good morning, Team Spice. Greetings from the land of 1,000 hills. Watching from Portland, Oregon is Masharia and Jeru. Good morning, Spice FM, says David. We see you. Nyakundi Emmanuel says, good morning, Ndu and Dennis. Yesterday, you really cornered that IEBC guy. Continue injecting. Be blessed. Thank you so much for being here every morning. Daniel, you said we get to the point. Why are you shouting? Just don't shout in capitals. Bring your voice down. Yeah, surely. Linda Gola, bonjour à tous. Nduyani, you did last night shift and you are here. Where? My eyes are being held open by toothpicks. It's just that you can't see. Catherine Nyambura says, good morning, Ndu and Seto. Ndu, have you put up your Christmas tree? Not yet. I have not. My daughter is all over the thing, but we should do that soon. And we also need to look at the origins of this Christmas tree thing. Is it a colonial idea that's still finding its way into our homes? Can you see now I have taken it to a different level? Yeah. Let's look at this Christmas tree thing. What does it actually mean? But yeah, the answer to that short answer is no. But I see you, Catherine. Good morning. Good morning, CSR family, says Sheila Masabi. Another day to be shocked by those we consider leaders. I truly pray that our country will one day break free from this continuous loop we are all stuck in. Karibu sana. EVE has answered and said intros are important. EVE, thank you. I did not even see. Senior Auntie has answered for me. Excuse me. I like the way Ndu and Dennis cornered him. Dr. Alutalala looked quite openly compromised. Cindy, okay. Eric Owar says, good morning, guys. Caroline Nyambura, good morning. Caroline anatupenda sana kila siku na pia tunakupenda pia sister, asante. George Obuya is tuned in and says, good morning, everybody. Great people. Ifumana, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, you almost got it. Good morning from Manhattan with love. I love that. Manhattan with love. Y'all are going to bed, but you're still keeping an eye, at least one eye open to join us on the show.
And you see, that's why the intros matter.
That's why the intros matter. Exactly. Let's just be happy. Small. Just a little bit of happiness will not kill anybody. Abi? Tuned in from Transmara, Narok is where Evans Naima is this morning. Karibu, Karibu. Andrew, excuse me, Washira says, good morning, Spice. Kwani Chiefs, how are public servants? Rearranging strategy for 2020, I don't know, but we'll have a conversation with Nelson Havi at 8 o'clock, because what exactly does it mean? Asnab Omondi says, good morning, everybody. Tune in from Nakuru. Blessed Thursday to you too. Sang Abrams, excuse me, is tuned in this morning and says, Ndu and Dennis, live from Adelaide in South Australia. Excuse me, got a frog in my throat there. And getting into things this morning. Karibu Sana, thank you. You're on your way to lunchtime in Australia, aren't you? Robert Maina says, good morning, Ndu and Aseto from Doha. Wish we could make you president and deputy. No, I don't know about that.
Giving us ideas, eh?
Aseto. Somebody's whispering too.
I know.
Bwangi Juma, good morning, Spice. From guys, how are you? We're fine, thank you. Have a blessed Thursday. It's a fact. UDA decided to substitute competence with loyalty for every arising job vacancy. That's what it looks like. Oh, wait a minute. V. Mwangi says, morning medicine. It's my birthday. Okay, so now Mwangi. V. Mwangi. The problem, is it Veronica? Is it Victor? I want to know that first name. And I promise, if you send it to me in 30 seconds, I'll sing before we wrap this up. Cindy. Mwangi Juma says, good morning. We see you. Mark Mwangi also tuned in. What's with women politicians and they're behind as a qualification for political leadership in Kenya? Do you know some things that we do? We actually allow some nonsense in terms of objectification by some of the things that we say. That thing that you said, a fool has something to say, but a wise man, a fool has to say something, but a wise man has something to say. If you put it out there, what do you expect people to do with it? There's some platforms that don't require certain things to be said or portrayed. Come on, we can do. I keep saying my mantra. We can do better.
We can do better.
We can do better. Vincent. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Vincent. Happy birthday to you. May you have a wonderful day and a wonderful year ahead, and may the road rise to meet you, and may the wind forever be at your back. May the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. May you have a wonderful day. These December babies, I can see one to my left. Don't worry, we are planning for you properly.
21 days.
21 days to go, and you'll be a year older, but we'll still sing for you as well as other things. Sindio?
Kapsa.
All right, guys, Karibuni Sana, thank you for getting into the room today as we have these conversations. Thank you for being part of it and for being bold enough to be involved in the discourse. That's what I say. If you're involved in the discourse, you're actually bold and you're courageous to say that we will not keep quiet, but that we will engage in what needs to be done in terms of these conversations. Let's look into the stories that are making headlines. We'll start with Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. Mbijiwe, dead or alive is the question. For more than 4 years, the family of missing security analyst Mwenda Mbijiwe has lived in agony. Now, a high court order summoning Kenya's top police chiefs has reopened old wounds and raised the weight of despair. As his mother collapses under the weight of despair, the state is finally being forced to explain how a man allegedly seized by police could vanish without trace in a country where enforced disappearances have become chillingly routine. So let's look at a bit of that timeline. June 12th, 2021, Mwenda Mbijiwe was picked up by people his relatives say were police on Thika Road in Nairobi while on his way to Meru. December 16th is a court date. Inspector General of Police and DCI boss are expected in court to explain the analyst's whereabouts. It would not be the first time that a court has summoned these two gentlemen to come to court to explain the whereabouts of an individual or a set of individuals who may have been missing for whatever reason. The question is, will these two gentlemen appear in court on the 16th of December to explain his whereabouts? The DCI boss may tell us, well, in 2021, I was not the DCI boss. Douglas Kanja might tell us that in 2021, I was not the Inspector General of Police. But were you a cop? Yes, you were. Were you in the system? Absolutely. Can you find the information? Yes, you can. Will you appear in court? We don't know. But we'll look into the details of this story. Justice Martin Muya did say yesterday, I have considered the application made by both sides and therefore order the second and third respondents, IG and DCI, to appear in court physically on December 16th, 2025 to explain the whereabouts of Mbijiwe. Yani, don't come story. No. Come to court, tell us, where is he? You too.
You too.
Yeah. No long story.
Because Jindom Limchukwo.
Yeah. So you should be able to know where he is, no? Yes. So we know yesterday that the Senate proceedings began for Nyaribo, well, he survives the chop because Senate calls for clear impeachment rules. This thing that you guys keep bringing to us to tell us every day. He was actually cleared on the technicality because they did not meet the threshold for appearance. So they said, okay, even based on that alone, County Assembly, go back and get your ducks in a row. Don't come to Senate and be disturbing us every 5 minutes that you want to impeach, and you've not gotten your things, ready. So those are some of the things that they brought to the fore yesterday. And so Nyaribo has been saved. I'm just moving side to side because Terry has come. Teachers to get rehabilitation services to address alcoholism. I hazard a guess that maybe teachers just want a list of hospitals that they can attend with this new cover. I don't know. I'm just saying, perhaps. IEBC was not in charge of by-elections, observers say. ELOG, which is the election observer group, but apart from them, others have come out to say that, you know what, this one, y'all didn't quite get it right. So it's not just Ndu and Aseto, it's a number of people who are saying, nah, guys, this one, bado.
Are you surprised?
Me? No.
Exactly. Exactly. And you can imagine, if you're talking about the reports that continue to come from electoral observers, Kenyans who observe the same equally have their own opinions. And that clearly says a lot on whether they trust our EBC to deliver free, fair and credible elections come 2027. Because remember, we said ballot 2025 was a litmus test on what is to come in 2027. So
it is. This is what we are looking at. And it continues. Oburu's big task amid inter-party rivalries, a threat from Ruto allies. Already parties are starting to look at, eating themselves. Yeah, I don't know, but it just seems that the politics have really started to play out now. We did see this, didn't we? We said that it would be clear after a mini poll that you would then see the decision or the direction that certain parties would take, and we're already seeing it. Whether it's UDA, whether it's ODM, people being censured, moved, etc. High stakes scramble for Nairobi intensifies as election clock ticks. Tick-tock. Gachagua had a few things to say yesterday and said to Edwin Sifuna very clearly, look, if you decide to leave ODM, you have a home in DCP. Are we welcoming him home? Yes, we are. Even Babu Owino, you want to come home? What is it? Just come. Come home. No problem. Kuna shida. There will be an answer to that before the day is over today, I'm sure. All right. A report reveals British soldiers' sexual misconduct exploitation. This would not be the first report of this kind that many have been. I've been to Samburu and Laikipia. I'm telling you, the things that you see, it's clear till now some of these overt realities about what may have happened in the dark. And that it's coming out into the fore and that people want to speak about it more and more is interesting. Misconduct, sexual misconduct, exploitation happened. It continues to happen. Can't keep it under a bushel. All office bearers should arrest political violence ahead of 2027. This is an opinion by Dr. Kamal Wairori. He's a governance, peace and security expert. He's on page 14 of the Standard this morning, and those are some of the things that he's talking about. I just want to look at the business pages of the Standard today. This is an interesting story. The Kenya Human Rights Commission has said that the public debt burden is locking Kenyans out of critical services. There are certain things that you can't access because you know what? Out of every 100 shillings, the number that they've said is 68. 68 shillings goes towards paying debt. That means that there's certain things that should provide services to Kenyans that you just cannot do. So because of this public debt, Kenyans are not getting the services that they require. So what's going to happen? That's a good question. Transporters hit as ports empty containers backlog crisis worsens. It's never been solved, that one, and it seems to be a little bit worse as the days go by. Sawa, that's what the Standard looks like. More details as we go along. Over to you, sir.
Let's go to the Daily Nation. And the big story here, how opposition lost Malava and Mbere North. Now, the Mbere North and Malava constituency seats seemed the best bets for opposition candidates, but the ruling party won both, albeit with narrow margins. Besides the heavy state machinery Past voting patterns, clan politics, and reputation dynamics influence the outcome of the polls. Now, this as Gachagua stirs up a storm, and tensions have risen in the united opposition, with controversial remarks by former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua rocking the outfit that is planning to field a joint presidential candidate against President William Ruto in the next general election. And we have a witness links priestess to Shakahola Binzaru cult. Now, new testimony has thrust Charlene Anido into sharper focus in the massacre of hundreds of followers of the Doomsday Cults. And we have 58,000 more teachers who are needed in senior school. How many again?
You said how many? 25,000?
No, 58,000.
Whoa, wow.
Teachers that are needed. Yeah.
I guess 50% of those are science teachers now that you're offering STEM.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's true. The science, technology, engineering, and mathematics pathway is worst hit by staffing gaps.
There you go.
Yes. Yeah, but when you started implementing CBE, which was when they were in grade 3?
The grade 10s going to grade 10 now. Yes, they were in grade 3. They finished class 2.
So how many years now?
7.
7, right?
Yeah.
Yes, we never thought of hiring more teachers.
No.
For 7 years.
No.
Now we're in crisis mode because January is here.
Yeah.
Okay. MCS blunder hands Nyaribo easy Senate win. Question is, if the MCS go back and now fix the technicality, will he be kicked out?
Well, that's a good question.
Do they have a case, Because if it's based off a technicality, if they fix that technicality, do they then have a case against him?
That's a good question. Because, look, what happened in Meru, that every 3 months, these fellas were impeaching this woman. So they said, this one, it didn't work because of this. I watch it to end it to Rudy. Power packed, we do it again. So it's possible. Or, look, if they come back, let's just say that not meeting threshold would not be one of the reasons the Senate would give to throw it out. Because they would make sure that they have those I's dotted and those T's crossed.
Yes.
That they would sort out. So that couldn't be the reason why they would refuse it in the future, I guess.
Now, we have the Holy Communion has become a profitable business.
Holy Communion, the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Yes.
What do you mean?
Yeah, the church service cannot proceed without Holy Communion, a certainty that underpins a discreet but dependable business supplying wafers, grape juice, and sacramental wine across Kenya. So, Mass hakuna bila nini? Bila Holy Communion and things that come with it.
In the Catholic Church.
Yeah, in the Catholic Church. But remember, for that, it's someone's business. There's someone who's supplying all these things. So it is big business for those who have the tender, pretty much.
I shudder to think if it's a pastor. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We have to have Holy Communion every evening, and there's somebody who's supplying it. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah. So there's a missing politician who's been found in Uganda. So Mr. Shadrach Maritim, the politician whose disappearance had been linked to National Police Service Commission Chief Executive Officer Peter Lelei, has been found in Mbale, Uganda. Maritim's appearance has deepened rather than ended the mystery surrounding his alleged abduction. The High Court was informed Wednesday that Maritim, who aspires to be Tinderet MP, contacted his relatives on Tuesday night, claiming his abductors abandoned him near Mbale.
What was he doing there?
He was picked up by security officers and dropped in Mbale based off what he's saying. So, but now if you look at Kenya's Bold newspaper, he's saying the same way you picked Mbijiwe.
Rudisha
leo. Yes, revealed how opposition lost Malava and Mbere North. That is in page 4 and page 5. And report flags bribery, state interference in mini polls. We canvassed that yesterday, IEBC, and where they are in terms of being trusted. And on page 8 is that story of Nyaribo and how he survived the Senate proceedings, and tensions rise in opposition as Rigathi digs in on zoning. That story on zoning was keen to see what it will do to the united opposition, just how united is
the opposition.
Yes. Because everyone wants these seats. So when you go zoning, especially in a place like Nairobi where it is cosmopolitan, what exactly are you communicating?
That's it. And that's why I think Rigathi Gachagua had his knickers in a bit of a twist yesterday when he said, I didn't say necessarily that we are or are not working together in terms of who's going to get these seats in Nairobi. But it's just interesting how they've already made that plan to say that this is how it's going to be. Very interesting.
And a woman's arrest exposed KDF soldiers' involvement in drugs diversion. Now, a routine investigation into drug trafficking in Mombasa has led to revelations that may not only taint the Kenya Defence Forces, but also spark a diplomatic spat between Kenya and its global partners in the fight against narcotics. So the most disciplined force in the country, one that is revered highly, finds itself in the midst of drug business.
Of issues.
You know, interesting to see how that will go. What do you have on the Star?
Okay, so on the Star, XDP tells allies he will concentrate on building his party. Essentially said that I will not work for you, first of all. I'm not going to do all this work for everybody. I have a party also that I've created, and I want to build this up. So he says that's what he's going to focus on. So you can see that, you know, gloves are off, and everybody is already starting to do for them. There's a picture there, of course, of the Odinga family, and Siaya Senator Oburu Oginga, Dr. Wenmwa Akinyi, and Ruth Odinga beside the coffin of their sister Beryl Odinga during a requiem mass at the Consolata Shrine in Nairobi yesterday. That service, of course, continued. It's a final journey for her. And it's a difficult one to see. Our friend Nzao Musau has a voice there, and he says, CS Mbogo, here's what you need to know about freedom of the press. He's schooling him a little bit. Nzao is one of our journal brothers who became a lawyer, and so it's interesting to see that. AI systems flaws push Shah into chaos. Shah was already in chaos. No, come on. Can it get any worse? MPs are saying this in an explosive report. And we're seeing that this thing is more serious. Kemri, we know what the Medical Research Institute has reported Africa's first superbug gene in Kisii County. Kenyan scientists have for the first time detected a gene that can make bacteria resistant to nearly all major antibiotics. Where? Although the feared gene has been isolated in other countries, this is the first time it has been found within Africa. The NDM6, the New Delhi... Why are these things called from Asia? You guys should carry your things back, I beg. We are not doing this kind of thing. The NDM6 is the New Delhi metallobeta-lactamase 6. It's a gene that was found in bacteria taken from a 50-year-old woman admitted with a severe breast infection in Kisii County. This story, for me, in as much as it's a bit scary to hear about this gene and the bacteria and all of this, even without looking into the details of it, this is the importance of research. This is why it is necessary to agree to the Abuja Declaration, where you said you would give a particular amount of your money towards things like this.
And development,
Because if you didn't do the research, if you didn't have everybody under the microscope, how would you find out something like this? It's a case for it. But now, if it's for the first time in Africa been found here, to Kona keys to...
You know, it's interesting because you look at what research has done, especially when it comes to breast cancer, especially among the black community, black women, you know. And one would hope that this being the continent with the black people, that more R&D would go into finding out why. And then how do we deal with that?
Exactly.
But we don't do that because even the research that I've just cited is coming outside this continent.
And you know, a lot of the medicines that we take, by virtue of the fact that they're not made here, they're not made for here. So you're taking, I'm not being racist, but you're taking medication that has been made primarily for white people, for Caucasians. And we know that disease presents differently as by nature of your descent or your makeup.
True.
So how it affects your body is different. So that means that the medicine needs to be different. Again, a reason why we should not take research for granted. The brilliant scientists and researchers that are in Kemri and other research facilities resident in Africa, the brilliant work that they do, these are not people who cannot come up with vaccines. They're not people who cannot come up with medication. They can. So why don't we put our money behind it? These are some of the important things that we should be doing instead of looking at a sheep's behind. But okay, Britain... Sorry, I tend to not remember that I say things out loud. Oh, okay. Britain fights MPs report on Batuk atrocities. I can't imagine that they wouldn't, because you don't want a stain on your image. I don't expect that they would say, oh, really? That's what they were doing? Oh, fantastic. I don't expect that they would not fight it. It would be expected that they did that. So some of the stuff that we're looking at, if we look at some of these stories in detail, shall we look at the Mbijiwe story?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So this is a troubling one, that after 4 years, the one that you love and the one that is loved by you, that you're still looking for them, and that they have not given up this fight to look for him. We ask, I mean, it's the people that we ask for every day to be brought back. We don't know where Brian Odhiambo is. We don't know where or what happened to a number of people as they died. We still don't know where Mukuria is. Mukuria's mother has not found him since June 2024, and she's still looking around the country. Bring him to me, dead or alive. Mbijiwe is one such person. 2021 is when he disappeared, and a high court now has said, okay guys, this is enough. It's ridiculous. Now what you need to do is you need to come before me on the 16th of December and explain where he is. It's being called a kidnap. For more than 1,400 days, Jane Gatwiri has carried a mother's unbearable burden. The disappearance of her only son, Mwenda Mbijiwe, a former Kenya Air Force officer turned security analyst. Each day has been filled with anguish, unanswered questions, and relentless searches through government offices and police stations across the country, all of which have yielded nothing. Mbijiwe mysteriously went missing on June 12, 2021, allegedly abducted by police officers while traveling along Thika Road in his rural home, or rather to his rural home in Meru County. He vanished without a trace, poof, leaving behind a trail of confusion and despair. Wednesday, hope flickered after the Milimani High Court ordered the police chiefs, Inspector General Douglas Kanja and DCI Director Mohammed Amin, to appear in person December 16th to explain what exactly happened to Mbijiwe. Don't come and tell us stories. Come on the 16th, tell us what happened to him. From there, we can then tell you what to do. For a mother who has spent more than 4 years pleading with the authorities, Justice Martin Muya's firm order marked the first time the country's top law enforcement officials were being directly compelled to account for the case. And I quote, "I have considered the application made by both sides and therefore order the second and third respondents, IG and DCI, to appear to court physically on the 16th of December. Don't send your assistant. Don't do it by email or by Zoom. Come to explain the whereabouts of Mbijiwe." Justice Muya ruled, signaling that the judiciary would no longer tolerate delay or inaction. The judge directed the two officers to appear at 11 a.m. on that day, following repeated failures to comply with earlier court directives requiring the production of Mbijiwe, dead or alive. So previously there had been an order, bring him, dead or alive. That was ignored, never happened. So now they're saying, you know what we're going to do? Let's have a conversation, gentlemen. And how we're going to have this conversation is that you will present yourselves in this court on the 16th of December. Don't send somebody, don't send me an email, don't send me a letter. Come yourselves and tell us what happened to him. So as between now and the 16th, gather, mix them, whatever you need to do. What you're coming to do is tell us what happened. Anything outside of that. And I think that it's about time we started dealing with these things with a firm hand. This is life. This is somebody's son, as you can see. She's not given up hope for 4 years. Bring my son to me. If he did something wrong, arrest him and present him in a court of law. But this kind of thing cannot be allowed to happen anymore. And then to imagine that he was a state officer. He was a member of the Kenya Navy. So what are we talking about here? Sorry, I beg your pardon, Air Force. So what are we talking about here? People have been crying. Those tears will not go unanswered.
You know, I circled the Kenya Air Force part because remember, this is someone who served the country. He is a veteran who put his life behind for the sake of the country. He served and protected this country against enemies, you know, and he did his part. That he turned out to be a security analyst, it's after the fact that he served and he was a security person at the time. So one goes to ask the question, how do we take care of those who have fought for this country? How do we take care of those who have made Kenya be peaceful, you know? And that notwithstanding, even if Mbijiwe did something wrong, present him, like we've said, arrest him. That's why we have the courts that will then determine whether he's going to serve time or he's free. Remember, we still live in a country where if you are a politician, I will still go back there.
Yeah.
You are a politician. You have that on you. You say you are innocent until proven guilty. You are able to still go and vie for political office, even when you have been condemned to go to court. You've been found guilty to go to jail, right?
Yeah.
What is this one thing that Mbijiwe did that he had to disappear? That someone saw no need of arresting him and taking him through the judicial process and have his day in court.
These are the
Why are we
questions.
applying the law selectively is the question.
It's unfortunate. I guess this is it runs the similar thread runs into why today Wakili Chacha Mwita is still behind bars as they hold him for another 15 days because he was representing individuals for whom terrorism charges were leveled against, and he received payment from a client, and so suddenly he's being charged with aiding and abetting terrorist activities in the country. I mean, how do you go from 0 to 100 so quickly? And these are some of the things that we talk about. If this gentleman in 2021 had done something that somebody had information on and then he needed to be had a conversation with, it should have been public.
Yes.
You don't just disappear people because they irritated you. Come on.
No, because remember, even those who say they have been irritated, they've irritated many others, but they have their time to do what it is they want to do. And there are courts of justice where people should be taken as per the Constitution. So let's stop applying the law selectively simply because you think you have a firmer hand or you have the biggest office.
Yeah, I keep saying that there's a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
We need to do better.
We need to.
This is not just a call because somebody wants to be political or whatever, or you want to go to the first world, or wherever it is that you want to traverse to. In every single detail, every single day, at every single time, with every single individual, in whatever it is that you do, wherever it is that you go, whatever it is that you speak, whatever it is that you touch, we can do better, and for crying out loud, we must.
Do people ever think of how they want to be remembered?
I don't know.
Perhaps they should.
We should. It's 7 a.m. Good morning.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Nyamweya Governor Amos Njeri survived impeachment through a technicality after a majority of the senators voted in support of a preliminary objection last night. The senators agreed with the governor's legal team that the threshold was not reached in impeaching him. Here's Senate Speaker Amason Kingi.
Honorable Senators, the result of the division is as follows. Ayes 38 votes, nays 4 votes, abstention 0. So the ayes have it. Now, Honorable Senators, I have a communication to make regarding the effect of the vote on the motion on the preliminary objection. Now, Honorable Senators, the motion having been approved, the hearing on the proposed removal from office by impeachment of Honorable Amos Kimomi Njeri, Governor of Nyamweya County, is hereby terminated.
Njeri joins his Kericho and Isiolo counterparts Eric Mutai and Abdi Guyo, who were also saved on technicalities. The recent by-elections was a flawed process, one which observers report did not reflect authority of the IEBC. The report by Elections Observation Group ELOG on Wednesday documented a series of incidents that it said undermined the integrity of the process. According to ELOG, the by-elections were marred by violence, harassment and political interference, not least in Kasipul, Malava, Mbere North and Karubangi North Ward. ELOG highlighted ballot secrecy breaches, noting that some voters photographed marked ballot papers. The group also expressed concern over unusually high levels of assisted voting and the presence of unauthorized individuals in polling stations.
There was a concerning presence and active involvement of high-ranking government officials, which include members of the executive, both at the national and the county level, state security officials, and other public officers. Such participation and engagement from officials who by law are required to remain neutral has the effect of tilting the playing field in favor of governing political parties and influencing voter behavior as a result.
Meanwhile, Okoh Africa has threatened to take legal action against the IEBC and the EACC for failing to take stern action against individuals who violated electoral laws during the by-elections. According to the human rights group, the electoral process was marred by chaos, widespread violence, intimidation and bribery. Led by its executive director, Hussein Khalid, the organization demanded the resignation of state officers who publicly campaigned for government-allied candidates.
Tutafikisha ripoti hii kwa tume ya uchaguzi pamoja na tume ya kupigana na ufisadi na wengineo, na tutawapea makataa ya siku 14 ili kuchukua hatua za kisheria kulingana na yale mapendekezo tuliopeana.
IEBC's weakness was failure to disqualify violators or enforce basic rules, emboldened offenders. Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission ineffectiveness. We had zero visible action against public officers engaged in political campaigning.
MPs from northern Kenya have sounded the alarm on the severe drought affecting the region with devastating impacts on livestock and human lives. They called on the government to declare the situation a national disaster to enable access to assistance and resources to support affected communities. The MPs also emphasized the need for long-term solutions to mitigate the effects of drought.
Livestock are dying, and today, tomorrow, the day after, we'll be having cases of people dying. If animals are dying and those are the livelihoods of the people, then it means the people who are with these animals will equally die.
Mandera has already reported the first deaths. We are going to see a multiplication of that in many parts of the region if we do not act now and act fast.
The biggest problem is water. So if we have water, and the president gave a State of the Nation address the other day, and we talked about mega dams which are going to promote irrigation in that region. I think going forward, that's the direction we need to take as a country.
In Australia, Meta has started booting Australian children under 16 years off its Instagram, Facebook and Threads platforms a week before an official teen social media ban begins. The tech giant announced last month that it had begun notifying users aged between 13 to 15 years old that their accounts would start being shut down from today. An estimated 150,000 Facebook users and 350,000 Instagram accounts are expected to be affected. Australia's world-first social media ban starts on Wednesday next week, with companies facing fines of up to $33 million if they fail to take reasonable steps to stop under-16s from having accounts. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human. Everybody's human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, stagi kuongea. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
One of the things that are in our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At 8 minutes after 7 o'clock, the conversation gets into its second hour this Thursday morning, and we'll let you into that in just a little bit. Dennis has been telling you many things, numbers, but then he made it very clear. 19 shillings, 1 hour.
Yes.
45 shillings, 3 hours. Never a break in transmission. You see, I'm a good student. I understand these things.
Yes. The only other part now that you've not mentioned is that it is unlimited bundles connection.
All right.
So it is not that you're buying 1 hour for, say, 500 MB. No, it is unlimited. So you get to do anything that you want to do. So whether you are heavy on consumption, uploading or downloading, this will enable you to do exactly that. But there is the aspect of missing out, you know. So if you don't have a stable provider, stable internet that would enable you to do all this, at some point you could be in a meeting and internet just goes because perhaps you bought internet that is limited. You know? So when you're being told unlimited, you do that which you ought to do without fear of missing out. You know, if you're streaming your movies, you're listening to your greatest songs that you listen to, this will enable you listen to that and enjoy and maintain your quality of life. But how do you get this? *544# or go to your My Airtel app and buy these bundles. If you are not on Airtel, Airtel is telling you, go to your nearest Airtel shop and buy yourself this SIM card and be able to buy this. You know, a little bit later we'll be telling you how you can win 3,000 shillings airtime courtesy of Airtel. But as at now, remember, *544# or go to your Airtel, your My Airtel app to buy these bundles.
My Airtel
your My Airtel app.
All right.
Yes.
That's the way to go. I think I'm getting it right now. And so that's great. You can do that. But now I see a lot of you are out there killing it. You're crushing your goals and you're making moves. But be honest with yourself for a second. Let's do that, shall we? Do you ever have that moment, that internal voice that says, everyone else has a plan, but me, I really need to get my act together? That feeling of needing to get your future locked down is real. But listen, getting a plan doesn't have to be intimidating or elitist. That's why I'm talking about ICEA Lion. They're cutting through the noise and making financial planning relatable. Whether you're just starting out or looking to secure a comfortable retirement, they have plans to help you build wealth, to protect your assets, and to prosper with retirement security. So stop worrying about the future and start planning for it. Don't think if only I can, and just do. And we're saying that get the easy personal plan that works for you. The question is, what's your plan? You can find out what and how your plan can be by just going to www.icealion.co.ke. So you can ask, what's your plan? And then you can also get into it. Sawa. We'll be giving you more information about this as we go along. This morning, we are joined by nominated Senator Veronica Minor. She's here in the hot seat. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you doing?
Okoh. I'm good. I'm blessed.
Good.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Thank you for coming.
Good morning to the listeners.
Good morning.
Looking forward to engage.
Karibu sana. Dr. Luchetu Likaka is a governance and security consultant and also joins us this morning. Good morning.
Morning to you.
Good to have you in the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you so much. Nice to be here. And good morning to our listeners.
Karibu sana. Post-election realignments is some of the stuff that we're looking at this morning. But before that, Dennis has a proverb today. I would love to hear your interpretation of this one.
The proverb comes from Ndu's homeland, so the western part of the continent, West Africa. And it says, a fool has to say something. A wise person has something to say. How would you interpret that?
Wow. Repeat again. A fool has?
A fool has to say something.
Yeah.
A wise person has something to say.
Wow. That's profound. A fool has to say something because they feel the need to fill in the gap. They just speak to speak. And unfortunately, it exposes the ignorance. But a wise person has content to share. So they can share their wisdom, the King Solomon style. So a wise person actually has content which people are looking for.
Right.
But for a fool, it's competition. I mean, there is a speech, people are speaking, so I have to speak. Yeah, sometimes somebody doesn't even have to say anything.
Yes, true.
Just silence can speak louder.
Oh, absolutely.
Dr.
I think my interpretation would be that a wise person rarely speaks, but then a fool will actually say anything, because from that, a fool will just explain whatever he wants to say, but a wise person obviously keeps silent. Yeah, so it goes deeper.
Wow. Yeah. It does. I mean, for me,
there's even power in silence.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Power over a situation and power over somebody as well. All right. So let's look into this. That we thought coming out of a by-election, many things would happen. That was, given, it was granted. That we would see positions taken and we would see directions then taken moving forward. Maybe what we didn't expect was that there would be very quick realignments almost immediately after, and that there were people whose allegiances or whose alignments somehow moved in a certain direction in this one day of a by-election. Or maybe that one day of a by-election was the day that showed people's true colors, as it were. Many could go in whatever different direction, but we'll start with you, Senator, that we saw very quickly that the whip of the Senate was removed and replaced. Yes, yeah, and that happened really quickly. And the reason that was given was because he seemed to not be in the party, as it were, anymore. Is that the case?
He's in the party, but his allegiance had since moved in for some time. Because he seemed to have changed his allegiance and alignment. And you see political parties, the currency in political parties is loyalty. Loyalty, support, believe in the ideology of the party. Of course, anchored in our very laws that you can only belong to one political party at any one given time.
Yeah.
And that was a law that was put in place so that, first of all, you can check issues of, you remember the party hopping business that was there before?
Yeah.
I think it was intended to tame that party hopping and people failing to take full responsibility of their political decisions. Because once you take a political decision, it should ride with responsibility. Those are obligations undertaken in the party, because the party also goes out of its way to support a candidate, give the ticket that then helps the candidate to buoy to victory or to buoy to failure. It does either way. Your choice of political party determines, in many, many areas, can determine whether you're going to win or you're going to lose. So once the party puts its resources out to the use of a candidate, you're using the symbol, you're using the popularity, and if you're in a stronghold of a party, what happens is that 40% of the campaign is done by the party, just by having the right ticket. And that's why we tell even women, when you're in a certain stronghold, look out for the ticket that will buoy you to victory, so it makes your work easier. So having then expended resources on a candidate or on a person, the party does expect to a very great extent loyalty. So when that test fails, the currency wins off. It wins off. I think it was long waiting.
Okay,
to happen.
so it was not. It was
but
not
then
an
now
issue of
the
this
by-election, because of the heat of the by-election, there was much more speeches, much more maybe very frontal attacks to one another as the candidates were competing. So I think it brought out the fact that it's like keeping the stubborn, disobedient son in the house. There are days even the mother will say, do you know something? There's no dinner tonight for you. You'll be out. Yeah.
Okay.
So, Senator, I will still ask on the same now. So here's the fact that if you look at constitution and how it's been, party constitutions and how it's been put in place, there is internal disciplinary mechanisms that would take place ordinarily.
Yes.
And with that, then do we expect that the party would further take further measures against these candidates, these individuals? And would these also include sanctions within the party, other than just in the Senate?
I would say that the party does have a code of conduct, and it has structures and organs within the constitution. And yes, the party can take a disciplinary action against a candidate or a member of parliament, but there is a process that has to be followed. First, there has to be a complaint. Someone has to go and complain that this member has gone way off the code of conduct, they have breached it, and these are the rules they have breached, and we have evidence. So they will table that before the organ, the disciplinary committee, and then the disciplinary committee will give a notice to the person who is accused, and then the person will be given a right to respond to the allegations before them. But somebody must go in, complain, they have to do a letter or do a petition, and then they have to, once that complaint is filed, it goes through the normal motions, and the disciplinary organ takes over and now makes a determination after having had both parties.
But then one would ask the question, if the member already has been stripped of the positions, we've seen all the changes in the Senate, is based off a complaint, someone is expressing displeasure by how they acted, then what are we waiting for if already we're taking action? Dr.
You see, when you're given a position by the party, it's, for instance, in Parliament now, it's the members of that party, like the Kenya Kwanza now, or the UDA. Let's say the UDA, actually, because it was within the UDA. They were holding that position. It's the members in Parliament who have affirmed that leadership of that person and who will vote in, communicate to the Speaker. And it's the same members who can remove that communication or change that communication or make changes based on how they feel they'll be more effective in Parliament. Because you can imagine if somebody holds a top position and doesn't agree with the philosophy of the party, you don't know whether maybe tomorrow, if they're given an assignment by the party, whether they're able to dispense it. So it's going to hamper maybe the effectiveness of how the parliamentary group is in pushing the agenda for the party. So it's a natural progression of the rules. It's a natural progression of how things worked, because these are issues that are based on relationships. How are you relating with the party? How are you relating with the leadership? How are you relating with the people? Are the members comfortable to be represented by you in view of the positions you hold? So I don't think there is any love lost when somebody has already walked ahead. Like they have moved on. So the party needs to move on.
Okay. Dr. Lekaka, when we look at this from a broad stroke, politics to an extent is really about perception. And that what you hear somebody saying could then fuel what you think they will do in the future. Is it just an errant individual in a party that has been removed, or is there a broader picture being painted here across Kenya's politics?
Thank you so much. I think this is not new, and it was expected. Why? Because the ruling coalition saw it coming from the failed, what I can call that the nomination was not very good, for example, in Malaba. And there was this bone of contention there that Khalwale had actually expressed. And therefore it was expected that indeed, if Khalwale will go against the party, then the best thing is that actually remove him from that position. But the big picture is that the ruling coalition has to move quickly to kind of punish the dissenting voices, to consolidate power, or to show that indeed that is required of them, so that they can actually whip everybody else in terms of retaining power. The big picture, again, in this perspective, is that looking at the ruling coalition and the wind that is actually blowing around the nomination and how the by-election actually took place, there are several concerns that don't bring out the ruling coalition in good light. And the much that the coalition can actually do is actually to whip the legs of Khalwale. Khalwale has read the signs on the ground, and God forbid he is going for the governor seat in Kakamega. If he has read the signs well, then he is likely to capture that seat, not necessarily under UDA. And the big picture again is that how do you justify, for example, the challenges that the candidates, opposition candidates have actually faced in Malaba because of the government? There are many issues around how the government conducted itself in this by-election. And therefore, this is what is actually going to affect even all the other seats. And we've seen it across board. I'm seeing a scenario where you are actually got with the enemy, and therefore you must run quickly to consolidate your house. You must show power, because if you don't show power, the next thing is everybody else will actually be running away from the coalition. Because this is a scenario where if you don't rein in on this member and the match they have actually done, and maybe others are going also to be removed from different positions because they want to consolidate power to prepare themselves. And that will send a strong signal to who would be interested in dropping the interest in the party.
We often know that parties are vehicles through which you can push particular political agenda vis-a-vis what's the origin of what political parties were supposed to do, bringing together like minds around a particular issue and saying, let's push this and see if we can get into government to make sure some of these issues are implemented. That's what political parties are meant to do in the first place. We've seen that political parties have been used, though, however, to institute individuals into positions of power. So we kind of do the reverse from the original idea of political parties, kind of. Do we see this likely to change? I mean, and how do you think of this, Veronica, where you imagine that right now what we will see, whether we like it or not, that if somebody sees that their position may be dwindling, they will either do one of two things. They will go independent, or they will go and form another party that would likely push their agenda. Do we see that the center is remaining together, or are people going to be moving in different directions?
Let me say this. The by-elections have shocked people, have shocked the perception that you're talking about, because politics is about perception. And first of all, let me express my surprise at what our doctor here has already mentioned. Because he's looking at the by-elections in with the pessimism that I see with many people. He's not first admitting that the party that makes government won in Malava and won in Bere North. And many people had blogged, written, sent social media posts, you know, just disguising themselves as winners or trying to create a euphoria that they were winning and that the government of the day is so unpopular and that they were never going to capture those seats. And the fact that UDA captured the seat in Bere North, captured the seat in Malava, shocked many people, including my friend here, the doctor.
Were you shocked, Doc?
They were shocked.
Okay.
I wasn't.
And this is the
shock.
And this is the shock that might await many people in 27. But I think right now, the by-elections were a good test. And you know, any by-elections anywhere in the world, becomes a very huge test to the sitting government, to the sitting ruling party, because usually the politics of oppositions are easier to play than the politics of the government, because the opposition, you only need to walk to the road, go to Mombasa Road right now and say there is a pothole, so government is not working. So it becomes easier for opposition politics. But for government, they
also
have
much
the
more
heavier
difficult if there actually is a
responsibility.
pothole, Veronica.
I'm just saying, for example, they just need to find a little thing and their politics for the day is done. They don't need to use any resources. They don't need to convince anybody about procurement processes when government projects are being rolled out. It's much easier to critique. Even here, I can walk in and just say, I don't like the color of this studio. So it becomes easier for me as a critique than the one who has to repaint the studio to suit the colors that people are looking for. So, and having said that, what I would say is that the perception, especially like, for instance, in the Mount Kenya, immediately started changing because there were these seemingly big, I think you had the concept of Goliath, seemingly big positioning of certain individuals, showing as though we got it all together, we are cutting away these seats. And I think the quick lessons we have learned on both sides is that people have to go back to the drawing board and strategize, because what the opposition right now, the united opposition, which is a bit disunited, what they thought is that they were going to corner the UDA and the Kenya Kwanza to a point where they will have no seats. But the reverse became the story. And that's why you saw very quick realignment, because everybody has to put their house in order. Because if you don't put your house in order in 2027, things will be tougher. The only bit that I have big exceptions on is use of very, violent goons, the use of goons, that I don't like at all. And I will never support use of any form of violence in politics. Because if
we know that this is being done by all sides.
If you become a leader, by the way, I don't care who is doing it. I don't support it. I will not care. If it happens in my camp, I rebuke it. If it happens in the opposition camp, I still will wake up and rebuke it. Because especially for women, we cannot do politics like that. We do not want the story of goons being used within the politics of the day. And I think you had even the president asking the IG to take a very firm position on the use of goons, because if we are then using the goons, then we don't need the constitution, we don't need the law. We must reach a point as Kenyans to know, once you document, you legislate, you have rules, they exchange for you. Rules are an exchange for the stones and the machetes and the pangas and the rungus and the and any form of arm. That's why we exchange with written down rules to say that's the far you can go.
Okay.
Beyond that, you can't.
Sorry, Dr. Lukaka, from an analytic point of view, Senator has said that it's clear what the people's choice was, that, UDA won here, the ruling party won here. Is that the sentiment on the ground? Remember, we said perspective. Is that the sentiment on the ground?
Allow me to put it this way. Yes, we had shambolic by-election. We didn't have free and fair election as per the law. Let's be honest. The resources that the government has actually put in Malaba or Mbere can actually do for us the road from Rironi to Nakuru. The intimidations.
Does he have facts on that?
These are facts. I'll be able to lay them on the table. Let's see. The use of Ngao in Malaba, for example, in Mbere. Today, as we speak, the Deputy President and Rugu should actually be a guest of the state for violating electoral laws. And this is actually very clear within our laws what the role of the government officers are supposed to do. We have seen this even in Kabuchai. We've seen this even in Magarini. What we need to agree with, for instance, is that yes, they have won with that margin, 1,000 votes, for example, 500 votes, for example, because of the intimidation, because of the state machinery, misuse of resources. IEBC has failed to rein in. Yes, in Kasbul, they tried with the issue of fines, But what about the state misuse of resources? This is something that we see, even if you talk about this by-election being a signal to 2027. They are not, I can tell you. The ground is different. We need to be honest to ourselves. I know the senator will actually push for the position of the government, but we need to be realistic. I don't support the opposition. I don't support the government, but I want to put it very clearly that if it was free and fair, then we'll have had different results. Look at the voter turnout, for example. Look at the concerns around goons that were actually brought in. And I want to take you back to history. Immediately, the president had an arrangement with the late Prime Minister. We saw the president go to Mathare and other places with goons. This is something that I see the president coming out to say, please rein in on them. I'll have asked the president, please rein in on his own people, first of all, because of the misuse of the state machinery in running these by-elections. If we have to be fair to the opposition, we want them to play a role in our politics, just like any other player. Then we have to go back and change the way we are actually doing our politics, because the ruling coalition actually messed up everything against the law. And there are many examples all over. We have seen the resources they have put in, the voter bribery, the intimidations, and this is something the senator may not agree with, but I can assure you these by-elections are not a reflection of what is actually coming up in 2027.
Let me say something.
That's when we'll be shocked.
Even a right of rebuttal on that issue. I was in Bere. I did not meet a single chief or a single DCC being used, because we did not require to do that. That's why the members of the party were supporting the candidate, because we could do that. Because once you begin your campaign, you can choose whoever you wish to support the candidate. But I know for a fact, that J.B. Muturi was captured slapping, actually almost suffocating a voter. Did you see that video going round? So if you're talking about goonism, I want us to be honest as Kenyans, so that we stop hiding behind certain facades and refusing to deal with the issues that are ailing us. Indeed, I can tell you for a fact, the running battles, if you saw anything happening in a place like Mbere, you will find that the people who are running those goons were actually on the opposition side. What was J.B. Muturi doing to that voter? And I'm hoping that case will be taken up, because he's held one of the highest positions in the country, so that if there was anyone to do that, it wouldn't have been a person of his stature. I think it's a very bad example to our young people. And let's be honest, let's face it. Let's stop driving narrative just for the sake of driving narrative, because if you just drive a narrative without looking at the facts, you will actually not get it. They even attempted to manage gates at polling centers in Mbere. And we also saw what happened in Malava. I think we need to face the reality, so that we do not get to the position where Tanzania has found itself in. We need to be very clear, what is it we are doing? And the beauty about Kenya is that a voter holding a vote can be persuaded by a politician. And what you will find happened during these by-elections is that there was a lot of wooing the voter, talking to the voter, persuading the voter, on the position, persuading the voter, for instance, our side, to work with the government so that the projects that are being done can be pushed to the end. There was nothing beyond, there was nothing beyond that. But if we look at it using the perspective that Daktari is using right now, we'll have missed the point, because then we'll not be able to tame some of those things which I think should now be managed.
Senator, how would you, we've spoken in terms of the opposition and all that, but when you look about the positions that have been given in terms of regulations that are given by IEBC, there is also the law that has to be read together in terms of public officers not being part and parcel of campaigning. But you see in places like Mbere, you see cabinet secretaries, principal secretaries campaigning openly against the law. You go to places like Malava, you see the Speaker of the National Assembly as well campaigning, which is against the law. As Member of Parliament for UDA and part of government, where do you stand with that? When you see those that are serving under your government breaking the law, and we are saying that elections were free and fair. How is it free and fair when it's clear that a candidate is being supported by government, including public resources and government machinery? Where do you stand with that?
When we say the resources that are being utilized from the government side, first, it's important to point out so that we don't generalize the term resources. We need to come out clear and say the resources that have been deployed here, which we think this is government itself deploying.
Let's start with the government vehicles and fuel and security for these cabinet secretaries, and also cabinet secretaries being deployed there instead of being in their offices to work.
I will say this, that for instance in Bere, if you look at CS Roko, for instance, he's a person who will even have his own resources. He will have his own vehicle, and I don't think there's anything that stops him as a person. And you must understand the history of that seat. The history of that seat is that he was appointed, so he was like promoted from that position, given a CS position. And he lives there. He's a voter there. So the question you must ask yourself, him having come from Bere North, lived in Bere North, registered as a voter in Bere North, what is our expectation? So that we can be practical, even with the regulation that we are trying to apply on people. The ones that don't, because sometimes we put down regulations that may not even work because imagine he has a right to vote. Does he have a right to vote? Or
yes, he's a voter.
He has a right to vote. So are we saying that he cannot walk and vote in his station?
Yes, that's what the law says.
So
yes. As a cabinet secretary.
He has taken an oath. He has taken an oath as a CS. Okay, but listen to me.
Yes.
He's also taken, he's taken the oath to be a CS, but he also has a right to vote. So if he goes to his own constituency, which he has a very big interest in, because he was the one who was an MP in this area and was running certain projects within that area. How you now separate him from the voter, the resident, who is interested in development in that area, to the CS portfolio? Is it that you want to wake up and see him seated in the office throughout without taking an interest, even as a resident of Bere, to go and see this is what is happening? No, and
Senator,
this is my aspiration.
Senator,
you have to listen through. You must.
Could the cabinet secretary just walk in, vote, and go home?
If you don't deal with the overlap of those responsibilities, we will never be fully able to answer the question on how far can they go and how far can they not go.
But there seems to have
problem.
I'm sorry, Senator, but
let me explain. The problem will be, and that's why I'm saying we have to come down with actual facts and say there are these resources which have come from this ministry that have been deployed specifically to this area. So you cannot question his presence in that area as a resident.
But this is the question
Even
here. I'm
yourself.
sorry, Senator. If we use the CS as an example, let's move that aside. How much does it take to move the deputy president from one place to another? The deputy president is Kithure Kindiki. He was in Bere North for a long period of time. I'm asking a question.
He has a responsibility.
No. This is my question, Senator, please. How much does it take to move the deputy president on one day from Nairobi
It depends on where he's moving, how he's moving.
In his capacity as deputy president, if he were to go to Mbere North, does he move as an individual, a private individual, or does he move as a deputy president?
He's a deputy president.
Yes.
And I also want you to appreciate the fact that he's also a deputy party leader. Are you aware of that?
I am aware of that.
He's a deputy party leader.
When he is moving from Nairobi to Mbere North, staying in Mbere North, openly campaigning very clearly, is his role separated? Is his role as deputy president then separated from his role as deputy party leader?
Would you deny him the right to act as a deputy party leader?
I'm sorry, Senator, I need you to answer the question.
That's the one I'm answering you. I'm helping you with the answer. I'm helping you with the answer. Every day of his life, he's still deputy president. He will deserve to be protected in that position of deputy president, because you can imagine if you exposed him to any risk, the disadvantage of exposing him to any risk would outweigh any advantage you would have by saying
based on
let
a
him not
choice
move
that
with his
he's-
security.
based on a choice that he's taken to be in Berry North.
You know, the law allows, if the law didn't allow him to be a deputy party leader, it would specifically put it down in writing that you cannot be a deputy president and a deputy party leader at the same time. So if he's performing, let me finish. If he's performing his role as the deputy party leader, are you going then to say you cannot be here because you're a deputy president and you cannot do your role as a deputy party leader?
Yes.
He has a right. Every political party, he has a right. And what has made him ascend to that position of deputy president is his ranking and his positioning within the UDA party. Why am I bringing out those two roles together? Because unless we put it in, legislate and say, even as a deputy president, once you become deputy president, you can no longer play the role of deputy party leader. So if he goes, for instance, to support, the one thing we would need to demonstrate is that in his support of this candidate, he has used specific resources taken from here, taken to the candidate, but his own personal resources. Nothing stops him, or using the party resources. Nothing stops him. By the way, do you know the political parties are funded by public resources?
Okay, yes. I'm sorry. I need to ask Doctor this question
Yes,
here
they
for
are
some
funded.
demarcation.
Political parties are
How
funded.
can we make the split
So
to
we are
be
just
very clear?
assuming.
To be very clear about what you cannot or can do. It seems as though sometimes
We
we're
need
not
to
really,
have more rules.
It seems sometimes, well, it seems like the rules that we have, we don't follow. How do we add more to them? I guess that would be the question. The rules that are available, we can't seem to
Thank you.
adhere by them.
Thank
Dr.
you so much.
Dr.
We need to be aware that our politics are not based on principle. That's number one. Number two, we need to be aware that our politicians do not obey or follow the political parties act and the electoral laws. And that's what we have seen, how it has played out in the by-election. Even distinguishing between state resources and the personal resources in the context of my humble senator explaining, it may not come out. The reality is, even as a state officer, you are already a government resource.
Yes.
You are using government resources by the fact that you are a deputy president, or you are speaker of the National Assembly, or you are leader of your prime cabinet secretary. My good example I want to give, for instance, in Malaba, we saw the prime cabinet secretary dishing out positions to those ones who lost in nomination.
Yes.
That's a clear indication of how the government was meddling with the whole process. The other good example is the deputy president in Mbere and the CS Rugu. Even if you want to distinguish Rugu as an individual or the CS, you cannot, because
He's actually a voter.
Even if he's a voter, he has taken an oath to be a CS, and that is expected behavior of a CS as per the law. And this is the problem we are having with the ruling coalition. The reality of the matter is the government cannot distinguish itself from a government and a principle that they're supposed to obey the law. They're the first one violating the law. How can a whole speaker of National Assembly go to campaign in Malaba? He is still holding a position as a party leader of Fort Kenya. He has a candidate in Kabuchai where he lost. The reality of the matter is we need to rein in and help the government to behave by following the law. And that's why I've said there should be candidates of the state as having violated the Political Parties Act and the electoral laws. And this is the plain truth. Even the difference, for example, in Mbere of 500, I know very well it could be coming from the fact that there was so much intimidation and there were very many goodies. The distribution of blankets, the maize, all these goodies coming from government. Is that personal from government, personal coffers? The reality of the matter, which we need to help our humble senator to appreciate, is that there is a problem. We need to rein in and help the government and all other players within the political space to obey the law. That's the only way we can actually have free, fair election. And that's the spirit we need to have as a country.
Senator, the question that I have is simple. The regulations that are given by IEBC is for all players to play by the rules, right? And with that, then, the electoral regulations, one would say, during the period that we have the by-elections is law. And anyone who goes against those laws is liable.
Yes.
Right? if we see that the very same regulations that have been put in place are not being followed, then is that room enough for the candidates who are violating the same to be struck out, to be punished by IEBC? And if we see that it is government that is peddling or is going against the regulations that have been put in place, what are we doing to the credibility of IEBC, and what are we telling Kenyans? That there are those who are above the law?
You know, IEBC should be IEBC. And IEBC is the one that has the mandate to oversee and ensure that elections are peaceful, they are free, they are fair, and they are supposed to be independent. That's why it begins with independent. Now, how the IEBC behaves, they will be perceived, seen, and judged based on how effective they are as IEBC. And a lot is expected from them, and I wouldn't say it's not expected. It is the work of the IEBC to see which party has defied which rules or breached which rules. And I want us to reach a position where, when Dr. Rucheti comes here and says that government officials have done this, have done that, we want to see more concrete action and more concrete support to allegations, so that if you feel this was defied, and you know public resources are subject to audit all the time, they are subject to the Auditor General's assessment of whether they are healthy or not healthy, take action. Let's help one another. Go and say, I feel this was done wrong and the breach on this rule is this one. Then we can gauge based on that, because if we only lament, we must exit the lamentation camp. IEBC, we saw IEBC penalize Kasipul candidates with a very hefty fine, which has never happened before in IEBC. And I was quite actually happy that everybody was told there is a line you cannot cross. And if I was IEBC, I would be very keen to implement the rules. But who will implement the rules for IEBC?
So you do agree,
IEBC.
Senator, so you do agree that there are rules that have been abrogated here? You've just said that you would ask IEBC to make sure they implement the rules.
Let me say something.
No, please.
At
so are
no
you
point...
Sorry, Senator. So are you saying that there are indeed rules that have been abrogated and that you're calling on the IEBC to actually come in and do their job?
I think you listen to me keenly, because I'm here to explain myself. I have said I saw IEBC do something in Kasipul. Was it in Kasipul? They gave very hefty fines.
Prior to the by-election.
Prior to the by-election. I saw, and I've worked closely with IEBC as a Secretary General of the UDA. I know IEBC takes action, even warning candidates. But the hardest fine I've ever seen IEBC give was the one that was given in Kasipul, unless any other is brought to my attention.
Do you know why they gave that fine?
Yes.
Do you know what was it for?
It was for parties who were breaching the code.
What was the reason? What was the reason for that fine?
It
does matter. I'm sorry, Senator, but it does matter. Do you know the reason why they gave this fine?
Yes, because of the parties had breached the code of conduct.
By doing what?
What is the point is, this was the point I was trying to drive.
There's a reason I'm asking
took
this
action.
question.
No, the IEBC took action on what they felt had gone beyond the parties had become violent, or whatever culture the parties had picked up. I don't have the specifics of the case, the specific nitty-gritty detail, but I know a fine was imposed on the candidates.
The reason I'm asking you this,
Senator.
There's a reason I'm asking the question, and if you don't answer the question, then it becomes difficult for us to get to a place where we can see the reasoning. The thing here is that if the IEBC levied a penalty that you have talked about just now on issues that were not as serious as the ones that happened during the by-election, why did we, because what we're hearing from the IEBC today on the issues that happened during the by-election, Malava, as Dr. quoted here, Magarini, looking into parts of Narok, looking into Kasipul, again, where members of parliament even were injured. Things happened significantly worse than what happened in Kasipul before that. But do you know what we're hearing from the IEBC now? That they've handed it over to the security agencies and they're waiting for their report. Why don't we see the same kind of action for something that happened that was gravely worse than
it's a
before?
good question. It's a good question. The only problem is that you're cornering me to take responsibility for IBC,
Not to
which
take
I shouldn't.
Not to take
and I shouldn't
responsibility,
answer.
but to give
I'm
the
giving
same
you
kind
from
of
my
explanation.
perception. Yeah, and I won't give answers that exactly fit into the answer you expect from me. I will give you the answers that I believe in and the ones that I have analyzed the situation and seen it to be. I won't fit within a certain box. I'm saying this, and I have no problem with IEBC calling parties to order, and they must do so before 2027. What I have a problem with is a lamentations culture, a lamentation culture where you come and say, your friend here is actually slapping people, but nobody has taken the initiative to go and report that I'm being assaulted by Tim or John or whoever it is. Why are we having a lamentation culture? How do we even help IEBC to take action and penalize people? I don't want to read it in the newspaper 20 times. Let somebody take action and say, I'm offended, this is what happened. And that's why I need you also, when I come on radio, that you listen to me through the answer. It may not suit exactly what you're expecting, but hear my perspective. Lamentation culture will not help IEBC. IEBC may not have capacity to investigate. If they want to investigate, they may need the assistance of an investigation body, because when you are injured or you are hurt during a campaign, the first place you land in is to report the occurrence. The occurrence is entered. So when IEBC, for instance, says we want the investigation on this particular aspect where we do not have capacity to do, is that a problem? That's not the problem. The problem is coming to radio station, coming to TV stations, doing all our lamentations, action not being taken on specific, what you're complaining about. Because I support IEBC to be firm on candidates. That's my philosophy, by the way, and it's never changed. From the day I was in the political parties, I drove a culture of peace, a culture of free from violence, a culture of where a voter walks into a station. By the way, I'm very uncomfortable, not just with a slap during elections or by-elections, even an insult, even a verbal insult. I am a believer in a respectful persuasion of a voter to support a certain candidate without having any form of intimidation
Senator,
or coercion. So I was almost feeling now misunderstood, by yourself, because the one thing I promote, we can't even have women being balanced with men in leadership in parliament if we don't eliminate the culture of violence, both online and physically.
Senator, there's lamentations that you talk about.
We must go beyond lamentations.
We presented the same to IEBC. We presented the same to Commissioner Lutalala here yesterday. And in the report that they gave in Kasipul, they called out civil servants, public officers, against being on campaign trail. That they did in their report as they were giving the warning to the two candidates in Kasipul. But as we look at that alone, paints a picture, Daktari, of a political class that does not care what the law is. It paints of a picture where we know this is the line, but we will cross the red tape anyway because mtadu. And this is the problem, because remember, as IEBC gazettes all these rules, the rules have become law, and one would not sit and say that the regulations is a suggestion. It is a law and everyone ought to follow them and respect them. But we choose to play outside the rules simply because we think we have power, simply because we think we have influence, and that IEBC will not do anything.
And
Lutalala said he has a problem with the political class that does not follow the law.
Allow me to put it this way. The senator is aware that she belongs to the ruling coalition. The ruling coalition is playing outside the law. It's not lamentation. I expect the government to call itself into order and obey the law. I'm happy the president did not come clearly to campaign in Malaba. He was actually at a distance.
He didn't need to.
But we can see clearly all state machinery actually out to campaign in all these by-elections. And my concern here, the IEBC is actually a weakling. It is not independent. It is weak. It is weak in the sense that it cannot execute its mandate if it's not supported by the state machinery. Here, the executive has actually to support it by providing necessary resources, including provision of the fact that they can actually have a way of dealing with security agents, so that the security agencies can actually support whatever IEBC is raising concern on. They arrest those people, they take them to court. That one, they have not received that support. They are not independent in the sense that if the state themselves are actually, the state itself is actually a participant, the state itself is violating the law. How will IEBC call, for example, call out the deputy president, or call out CS Rugu, or call out Wetangula in this case? That's my concern. And I'm not just lamenting. This concern is actually something that the government has to go back and ask itself, are we doing the right thing as a government? And why I'm raising this concern, come 2027, if this is the level of intimidation, the violence, the bribery, if this is the scenario and this is the government, what will happen with the incumbent when it comes to 2027? And that's why I've said it's not a pointer to 2027. And we are not just lamenting. My interest is, let us see the spirit and the letter of the law when it comes to free and fair election. I'm looking forward that those ones who are going to court in terms of petitions, whether in Mbere or in Malaba, that they'll actually have enough evidence that we who are at a distance are able to pinpoint that they can actually take this through our court, and the court can actually see that it was not free and fair. In fact, if what happened in Kasipul led to the fines of 1 million, I would have expected even IBC to nullify those results, because there were several concerns, and these ones will come out. Even the report yesterday by one of the public benefit organizations that raised some of these concerns, I hope they can actually pick this to take them to court. What I'm calling upon is that let the government play within the rules. Let the government be the big brother to provide an atmosphere for us to grow our democracy. That's what UDA has failed to do for us.
Let me say this before he shouts from the rooftop about what UDA is failing. Because UDA has won, and we could as well be on that high rooftop screaming to everybody that we won. But we don't have to. You know, when you win, you give us a proverb before we started the conversation today. You don't have to shout from the rooftop. When you are the victor, you need to be humble and let people know, even the one who did not win, it still belongs to the same nation, and you still need to be given service by the one who won. So I believe one of the solutions we must have is when one takes leadership from whichever party, we appreciate and acknowledge that even the ones who did not manage to get Ghana enough votes are still Kenyans and still need to be served, and the humility with which we take the victory. But having said that, let me say this. I always like an approach that looks for solutions to issues that we perceive are affecting us or affecting the effectiveness of any process that we are undertaking. And an electoral process is so important, and that's why you had, even when there was the NADCO negotiation, the national dialogue, one of those issues that dominated that conversation was electoral reforms. So in every conversation, when you hear people are speaking in different languages, you must ask yourself, what exactly is the problem? And we must analyze. If you don't analyze your problem, then you'll not be able to come up with solutions that then help. Is there a possibility that we have given regulations that are impractical or not pragmatic enough to meet the need, the current need of how we are structured for electoral processes? Why do I ask that? Government is made up by a political party, right, wrong? So the people who make the political actors who make up government come from a political party. We appreciate that. I'm already raising the issue of CS Roko is a voter within Bere. Okay, so we have an overlap there. So could there be a possibility that even as we have said, the government is made up of political actors, that when we say this actor who is political and who has a party which is already running a candidate within that zone, we have already done an impractical thing to tell the person you are never supposed to be seen in the politics that got you into power.
Is that a license to break the law?
Why I'm asking that is because it could be a reason for us to rethink what structures are we having. What do we need to manage? manage. What we need to manage is the public resources not to be misused.
I think
It's
because
not
our
for the
time is also coming to an end, but I think it would be clear that even one of his cabinet colleagues, C.S. Murkomen, was very clear to Kenyans. So if in this case you're saying he's a voter and he was an individual, then he could have also heeded the words of C.S. Murkomen, where he said, come, vote, and go home. These are the words that he spoke on Wednesday evening. Yes. So if now you take the position that CS Roko is a voter in Beira like everybody else, then he should have actually heeded the words of the CS as well. But that leaves conversation for another day, because we're already at 2 minutes past 8 o'clock. This is clearly something that needs to continue to be in the public eye.
What I wanted to raise is that a conversation needs to be had in Kenya for electoral reform, so that we can adjust ourselves to what is practical between being a public officer, being a political actor who is holding office courtesy of the politics that brought you into office, so that we separate those rules and make sure we protect the public resources while allowing the individuals who are public officers to still exercise their political rights in Article 38.
Dr. Likaka might ask you that at this point, Dennis as well, that those rules that currently exist should be adhered to before we try to make some more.
Yes. Yes.
But they need to be revised to be practical, because we have an issue.
My conclusion, the government needs to play within the law. That one they need to stick to. Our concern is that we are applying double standards, and that's where the problem is. If, for example, C.S. Murkomen gave that directive, he did. How come the deputy president and the speaker and others are not obeying the law? That's why I have a problem with the government, because they should be playing the big brother part as having or running the government. That's why we go back to the Political Parties Act, and the concern will be who is actually the party leader and the deputy party leader. What's their role when they're actually in government? Maybe that's what the senator is raising. But if we are principled, then we'll differentiate and distinguish ourselves in terms of roles and responsibilities when it comes to how we are running a government and how we need to play our politics. The government has basically raped the Kenyan when it comes to issues of electoral laws. They have failed.
Because of time, we will not even allow Senator Veronica to make a statement on that, because I know that she wants to.
Within the laws
Senator
and the
Veronica Maina, nominated
senator, to have a right of
has
rebuttal.
Been here with us this morning, and we want to say thank you for being part of this conversation. Dr. Luchetu Likaka is a governance and security consultant. Thank you, both of you, for being here this morning. Obviously, this is why discourse is important. Thank you both for joining us this morning. It's 4 minutes past 8. Good morning.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
It's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Nyamweya Governor Amos Nyaribo has urged county leaders to unite and focus on development after surviving his third impeachment attempt. Senate Speaker Amason Kingi ruled that the impeachment motion was invalid, given that it failed to meet the mandatory threshold required under Article 181 of the Constitution and Section 33 of the County Governments Act. Speaking to reporters afterwards, Nyaribo hailed the ruling as a win for the people of Nyamweya and called for healing.
Nashukuru wale wamehusika na hii kesi kutoka mawakili, supporters and members of my cabinet. Kitu naweza sema ni kwamba kuanzia sasa watu waache mambo ya vitina, waache kuelekezwa na wengine. Kama iko kitu, wacha tushuruhishe huko nyumbani. Tusikizane, tuelewane, ndio tuweze kuendesha Nyamweya mbele.
He went on to thank the Senate for, in his words, upholding the rule of law and for uniting as one Kenya, noting that 35 senators supported his preliminary objection.
In the Senate, we have several parties. Tuko na United Opposition, it voted for us. Tuko na ODM, it voted for us. UDA, it voted for us, and others. Because you saw there were only 4 dissenting votes. So we encourage one Kenya, one people.
The United Kingdom has issued a formal response following the release of a parliamentary parliamentary inquiry report by the National Assembly Defence, Intelligence and Foreign Relations Committee into activities at the British Army Training Unit, Kenya, Batuk. In a statement, the UK acknowledged the report and said it had cooperated fully with the inquiry, including submitting a detailed response addressing issues raised and outlining steps taken to resolve concerns. However, London expressed disappointment that its submission was not reflected in the committee's final conclusions. The UK also noted its regret over challenges that have emerged regarding its defence presence in Kenya. The statement added that the UK is prepared to investigate any new allegations highlighted in the report, provided supporting evidence is supplied. A memorial mass for Bero Acheng, the late former Prime Minister Raila Odinga's sister, was held on Wednesday at Consolata Catholic Church ahead of her burial on Saturday. The service was attended by top politicians including Wiper's Kalonzo Musyoka and DAP Kenya's Eugene Wamalwa. The family narrated how painful it was to eulogize Acheng less than 2 months after losing Raila. Here are Winnie Odinga and Ruth Odinga.
The passing of Beryl has left us in total mourning and hurting. This tragedy, just so soon after the loss of her brother, my husband, has really broken us as a family. As we gather to bid farewell to her remarkable soul, I pray that your children, Amy, Chizi, and Tarai, find peace and strength in their grief.
Go in peace. Greet for us, Raila. I'm sure he's still at the gate waiting for you. And then say hello to your mom and your dad and everybody who's gone before us.
For his part, Kalonzo prayed for comfort for the Odinga family.
And so, may God, our sister, Daktari, always the disciplinarian from what we have always followed, and a no-nonsense lady in the family. We honor this family, but God honors you more. Please don't for 1 minute ever imagine that God has left you alone. May our soul rest in eternal peace. Amen.
U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff will meet the head of Ukraine's National Security Council, Rustem Umerov, for talks in Miami today, the White House has confirmed. The meeting comes after Witkoff spent almost 5 hours with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Moscow on Tuesday, negotiations which the Kremlin said produced no compromise on ending the war in Ukraine. U.S. President Trump said the talks, also attended by his son-in-law Jared Kushner, were reasonably good, but added that it was too soon to say what would happen because it does take two to tango. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Andriy Sybiha said Russia must end the bloodshed and accused Putin of wasting the world's time. That's the News Wire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can't run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we may find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
I've got a plan to make my investment portfolio more diverse than a DJ's vinyl collection.
ICEA Lion has a plan for everyone. Talk to us today for a plan that's right for you. Or visit icealion.co.ke. ICEA Lion, what's your plan?
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We're getting into it at 12 minutes after 8 o'clock into the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this Thursday. Our Justice Thursday conversation is going to be an interesting one, and we'll let you know about that in just a bit. Because I think I finally got it now, that I can spend a little bit of money and I can be unlimited. Mm-hmm. All right. Yes. Go.
So we're talking about spending 19 shillings for 1 hour of unlimited data. You spend 45 shillings and you get 3 hours of unlimited data. Where is this coming from? Airtel Happy Hour Fun Bundles gives you an opportunity to enjoy and be part of the moment and processes that happen in our lives daily. You see, this life, I keep saying, me, I'm ambassador of good life.
Okay, here we go.
So here's a question where if I'm streaming my movies, I want to enjoy doing that. If I am going through a class, I want to do that peacefully without worrying that my internet is going to kaput, And Airtel is telling you by dialing star 544 hash or going to your My Airtel app, you're able to buy these bundles. If you are not yet signed up to Airtel, what do? You go to the nearest Airtel shop and you buy your data. You buy your SIM card and be part of this process. So you can imagine a situation as well where, imagine, I repeated it yesterday. Mm-hmm. You're walking down the aisle. You selected your playlist. It is playing from one of the streaming platforms. Mm-hmm. And as you are doing that, internet gone.
Kaput.
So what does that mean? Either a choir starts singing or your bridesmaid starts singing as you walk down the aisle. So this is what Airtel is coming to cure. So tell us, what is one of your form of fear of missing out? What are these experiences that you've gone through? Talk to us through our social media platforms. Christine will get in touch with you and you have an opportunity of winning 3,000 shillings airtime courtesy of Airtel. Go texting, tell us your story, and you will win courtesy of Airtel.
El Fantastico, and that's what we look into. The 49th president of the Law Society of Kenya is Nelson Havi. He is here with us this morning, and good morning, Wakili.
Good morning, Joe.
How are you doing?
I'm great by local standards.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to embarrass you now because a couple of days ago it was your birthday.
Uh-huh.
And so, happy belated birthday. I guess in one way or many ways, the world is better because you're here.
Mm-hmm. Good to know.
It is. Yeah. So one does hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We were met with another visit to State House, but we'll talk about that in just a minute. Dennis will give you today's proverb.
So today we're in West Africa, right? Mm-hmm. And this region has come up with a proverb that speaks a lot about what we say. Yeah. A fool has to say something. A wise person has something to say.
Of course, you see, for a wise person, the saying will come out effortlessly. Because it is within his or her province to disseminate wisdom. But for a fool, it must be propelled to come out because seldom does it exist.
Yeah. Yes. Kizuri chajiuza kibaya chajitembeza.
Kabisa.
Same thing.
All right. The power of chiefs, a constitutional look at their mandate. The president had guests at State House yet again, but this time they're chiefs and they're their assistants. And what he basically said was that they were going to revive their positioning. We would like to start from the beginning of all of this and look at the pecking order of administration in the country and see where chiefs and their assistants fall in. And also then take into consideration that people felt for a long time under the chieftaincy that there was an element of fear, there was an element of a rogue administration. What are the issues that propel people to think in that manner? And now that we see these coming back, could it be for some kind of good?
It is important that we lay out the background.
Yeah.
The promulgation of the Constitution in August 2010 was intended to do away with the then infamous provincial administration, which was hosted within the office of the President of the Republic of Kenya. That intention was deliberate. It was intended to foster a complete devolved government.
Right.
But there is a lacuna. There is no transitional provision that will set out to ensure that administration, which to a large extent was useful in ensuring peace and order, combating crime, at the most basic level of administration. There was litigation in court where the courts determined that the provincial administration no longer has place in the current dispensation. But that said and done, from a practical point of view, the office of assistant chief and chief is very important.
Okay.
This office of chief was created pursuant to the Chiefs Act. There are certain vices that were associated with that office, but there are certain good things that come out of that office, because at the basic level of administration, they're able to detect possible offenders. They're able to assist the police in investigations. And even at a civil level, the issuance of national identity cards is a verification process that is always done by the chief. The succession process of an estate is verified by the chief. Although all these things are not founded in any elaborate legislation, that is a role that they played, notwithstanding the fact that the 2010 Constitution did not envisage a place for this office. Now, coming to what happened, well, I'll wait for you to pose the question, but I think you had initially indicated that is the re-emergency of the chiefs something to worry about?
Okay, so here's the question. It seems as though they were dreaded in terms of an administration. Why?
They were dreaded because they were, so to speak, the coercive tool of the provincial administration then. I remember my chief, Peter Lekwiro, was the most dreaded fellow in Likuyani, because he spoke directly to President Daniel Arap Moi. So it was the president there. And often, much as the work of the chief was to ensure that there is peace and order, often they will be used in certain areas that created tension with the society. For instance, they were part and parcel of then the infamous Kano Youth Wing. They could come to collect cows, maize, for purposes of enforcing a Harambe project for the construction of a school. So to that extent, they were dreaded. And also in their effort to combat crime, they didn't have a judicious mind. And to a large extent, they exercised draconian powers. So I think the perception of fear is that perhaps they're being indoctrinated again to have the vices that defined the chiefs during the 80s and the early 90s.
So, Wakili, you look at the era that you speak of where chiefs were dreaded, right?
Yes.
And then the Constitution 2010 comes in place that says pretty much just do away with this, but there's that lacuna that does exist. Now, when you look at the president calling in chiefs, 3,000 vehicles will be accorded to them. There will be accorded police officers that will be working together with and all that. Should Kenyans be afraid? Should we Are you seeing Kenyans heading back to the point that you're referring to, where chiefs were dreaded? And one would ask the question, 2010, 2025, why now?
There is credible merit in the fear that this regime, just like the Ugandan regime, the Tanzanian regime, is determined to force its continued stay on the people of Kenya come 2027. And it's not novel. In 2017, it is the chiefs that were used at the basic level to pursue what was then seen by us, affiliated to Raila Amolo Odinga, as theft of the election.
Okay.
It's done at the local level, because at the local level, they know everybody. They know your political affiliations. They know who will be the agents picked by who and who. They will know the opinion polls. So what better way to influence the outcome of an election than to use those at the basic level, at the ward? And I think that fear is genuine. And what should Kenyans do? Kenyans should just do what we always do. We have structurally the best judiciary. We may have some rotten elements within the judiciary who are always being protected by Martha Koome, but I can tell you without any fear of contradiction, there is no arm of government in the name of the judiciary better than what we have in Kenya. Let them go to court and challenge this formation. It ought to be challenged. It's high time that those in office realize that they serve at the mercy of the people. The people are also the sovereign.
Okay.
Yeah, you cannot plan to rig an election in the manner in which it is perceived is being done.
So are Kenyans therefore right to equate these to the 2027 politics? Correct me if I'm wrong. In the sense that if in 2027 we remember that chiefs were pretty much used, the chiefs are in the grassroots level. One would say they have the local intelligence and they would know who belongs where. Is this then a plan, or one would read this as a plan towards achieving the same as we approach 2027?
And the same matrix. It was used by Daniel Arap Moi. It wasn't used by Mwai Kibaki. Mwai Kibaki stole the election at Bomas. That's clear. It was used by Uhuru Kenyatta for his second election. And, history informs the current and the future. So those who are in the process of competing with Dr. William Samoei Ruto need to know that this is the problem that we're going to face.
What do they do now? Because there were 15,000 people who showed up at State House, chiefs and their assistants. They're in uniform, so they didn't just get into it the day before. So they exist, isn't it?
Yes, they do.
They're doing something right now. What is it that they're doing right now? Do we know? Or because it seems that role is being enhanced, they're being asked to do something else. What do they currently do, and are they fulfilling that position?
Yes, as we said at the beginning, the office of the chief, though not domiciled in an elaborate effectuating legislation, except for the Chiefs Act, which has had several torrents and challenges. It's an important office.
Sure.
The problem is if that office is abused. And you see, from the threshold, the appearance, the attendance of chiefs in State House is not problematic. They represent the crown.
Yeah,
they function under the Ministry of Interior, and before they were directly under the office of the president.
Right.
But there is something wrong when the president says, "I will enhance the capacity of your performance." Towards what end? You understand? I even heard that indicated that he may promote some of them upwards.
I could actually read this statement.
There's a number of things that he said he was going to do, so maybe we can look at that and then let us know.
So let's interrogate
So this is what he said. Chiefs and assistant chiefs are enablers of our country's development plan at the grassroots. We are therefore promoting all the trained chiefs and their assistants by a rank effective July 1st, 2026. To enhance accountability and efficiency at the community level, tablets will be issued to all chiefs. More than 3,000 new cards will also be made available to boost their mobility. Further, our more than 106,000 village elders, wazee wa mtaa, Across the country will be recognized and put on a monthly stipend of 3,000 shillings beginning July 1st, 2026. Share the progress of a bottom-up economic transformation agenda with more than 15,000 chiefs and assistant chiefs at State House, Nairobi. We will operationalize 24 new sub-counties, 88 divisions, 318 locations, and 675 sub-locations, and build 900 police stations to advance security in every part of Kenya.
Okay. A plain reading of that statement indicates there's nothing wrong. But it's only a fool who relies on a plain reading of any statement that comes from the executive. So far, the president has cushioned his statement in a very elaborate manner to indicate that there's nothing amiss. But there's something amiss. Yeah, why the mobilization at this particular point in time? Why not much earlier? And the thing that is amiss in my projection, I'm not a prophet, is exactly what I've told you. To mobilize from the ward level so that at the polling station, they're able to manipulate the electoral process. What we saw in Mbere, what we saw in Malava in particular, is a precursor to what they may want to do. Because you see, ordinarily in a by-election, if the state is determined to influence that outcome, it can do it effortlessly because all the efforts will be deployed there. But in a general election, everybody is to him or herself. If you are vying at the ward, you will be by yourself. If you're vying in the constituency level, you'll be by yourself. So they will not be able to send Kindiki to Barasa because Kindiki will be struggling to support the president in the event he'll be picked as running mate. They'll not be able to deploy these other characters to Malava. So the only effective way of ensuring that they have control is to start from the grassroots. And 2 years is sufficient time towards that preparation.
It's a worrying thing that would want to be planted as a seed of in our minds to imagine that this force of men and women then could essentially be used for purely government propaganda, number one, because he was very clear also about one of the things that he said, that these two, the chief and the assistant, would also be used to counter mis and disinformation about what government is doing, about projects, about development projects, about whatever the case may be. So essentially, they would write the perspective that could be wrong in the minds of Kenyans. Can you do that with a public office, which this is?
They do it. The question is whether you can do it. They do it. For instance, if you go to a funeral in Matungu on Saturday, ordinarily there will be a slot allocated to the administration. They call it Serekali. And there will be a headman, it's called Mukasa or Lekuru, who will come and speak. If there is elevation beyond those two, there will be assistant chief or chief, and they will come and they will say, Serekali imesema hivi, mipango ya elimu itaenda namna hii, mipango ya SHA itakuwa hivi, affordable housing itakuwa hivi, usalama tumeweka hivi, watu watajisajili kura pale, na lazima muheshimu serikali. That's the narrative. And the ordinary folk will always heshimu serikali. They will toe the line. If the chief comes to a village and says, mnajua watu wa upinzani hawana maono bora kuhusu maendeleo ya serikali, nyinyi yapaswa muone maendeleo ambayo serikali imeleta, wamempatia viongozi, wamemchagulia hawa, wamemteulia hawa. It's propaganda and it's quite effective. But Kenyans should not prevail in a state of helplessness in the advent of these overtures by the Kenya Kwanza administration. Even within Africa, there have been incumbents who have been removed from office. So it just requires determined effort to mobilize, to sell the agenda, to be vigilant, to ensure that these intrigues do not succeed. You follow? And as I've told you, at a by-election level, it's easy to deploy this machination. At a general election level, you can subdue the schemes. So, yes, there is cause for alarm. We need to fear. But fear propels you to do two things, either to take flight or fight. For those who want the right thing, then you have to fight.
Okay. These 15,000 chiefs and their assistant chiefs have also been promised vehicles. They've been promised tablets, even if you want to go give or take a tablet at the lower end of 5,000 shillings per tablet. So I'm going towards a budget responsibility here. Now, I need you to explain to us, when we hear that a budget, as it is every time the fiscal year is coming to an end, is going to be announced, we know that the budgeting process starts in September, and by the time you come to June is when the new budget is then announced and where it's going to be gotten from. One would assume that anything that would be done in that fiscal year that then requires funding will be put or announced in that budget. Now, for something as big as this, one would imagine that would be in the budget. And if he talks about July 1st, 2026, that should have been in the budget that we are currently in. But I have looked for it and I can't seem to find it. Where do these monies come from? Where will they come from?
Okay.
You know, as just talk about that, so we have 106,000 village elders that he's talking about, where each and every single individual will be getting 3,000 shillings. 3,000 shillings per month is 318 million shillings. If you do an annual of that, is 3.8 billion. Do we have that kind of money?
You haven't even added the vehicles.
No, just the elders.
Just the elders.
We've not talked about the vehicles. We've not talked about the tablets. We've not talked about enhanced resource, enhanced mobilization. Apart from the movement with vehicles, we've not talked about that. We've not talked about the deployment for this misinformation and disinformation. Repelling. We've not talked about all of that. So, but where does the money come from if having not been budgeted for?
The money is being pilfered. The same monies that were being used for empowerment projects, because there's no budgetary allocation for it. But fundamentally, and this is a failing on the part of the National Assembly, they're supposed to oversight this expenditure. And the moment that a statement of this kind is issued, then an able-bodied male and female representative of the people ought to raise it in Parliament and have it interrogated. But we know we have, sorry to say, emasculated, effeminate individuals in the National Assembly who do not have the wherewithal of interrogating this thing, or they are so subdued that they cannot interrogate these things. My plea is this: let a Kenyan go to court and challenge this. Because you see, under Article 10 of the Constitution, every decision made by the government must abide by the Constitution and the law. It must incorporate public participation. It must be taken with accountability and integrity. It must be a transparent decision. It must be a decision arrived at on the basis of the law. And see, the Achilles heel of this administration has always been Article 10 of the Constitution. So let somebody go to court, and I can tell you, without any fear of contradiction, the court will stop this nonsense.
Wakili, we speak about the law, the Constitution, the supreme law of the land that Kenyans bequeathed themselves, that addressed itself to such, right? And here we have a government that has its advisors, has the Attorney General as the chief government advisors on matters law. But we see a government that is breaking these laws every other time. And one would just sit and say, the law seems as if it's a suggestion, Wakili. The law is for Aseto, is for Harvey, is for Ndu to follow, but not for the government. Why so much impunity? Is it that anyone sits and thinks that Kenyans are so powerless? And with that, the National Assembly that we have that ought to, rightfully so, go through such matters, interrogate the same, and call out the government, one says is in the pocket. They have surrendered their power to the government. Why?
You know, Jadong, we were part and parcel of the team that formed this government. So we know this government from. This government doesn't listen to advice, legal advice for that matter. And even this government itself has designated people who cannot advise it. It has people who it advises to give them legal advice. So to lament that the government doesn't take legal advice is a far-fetched discussion. But as I've said time without number, and I'll continue repeating, it is in their habit to do these things. It should be in our habit to countermand their doing of these bad things. And how do we do it? We can't do it through Parliament because they have captured Parliament. We can only do it through the judicial process. And I still have a very firm conviction that the judiciary, to a large extent, plays a great role in enforcing the Constitution. So, again, please, somebody file a petition quickly, go to court, you'll get a court order to stop this.
But Okili, abrogation of the law by the highest office on land, what does that translate to Mwananchi? If we are breaking the law as the government, how do we expect Mwananchi to follow the law? Do they ever think of that?
Mwananchi must follow the law. Because the failure of the leader to follow the law is not an excuse for Mwananchi not to follow the law. Because I'm a lawyer. I'm a law-abiding citizen. But the Mwananchi must also use the law to hold the leader accountable. You know, the president takes an oath of office to uphold the Constitution. There is a doubt as to whether that oath has been fulfilled insofar as my friend President William Samoei Ruto is concerned. To him, the Constitution looks like a suggestion, it's a great inconvenience, and I'm not saying this from the emptiness of my head. The fact that courts keep on overturning his decisions day after day is indicative of the truth of this fact. Today, unless the court is drunk, the court will invalidate the appointment of a panel to review cases for purposes of victim compensation. That one I can tell you without any fear of contradiction. Another confirmation that the president looks at the Constitution as an inconvenience. But we will not tire. The people must not tire. For me, I'm not going to court to file these petitions. I've served time. You know, you look at my hair. It is silver like Cicero. You know, in military parlance, I'm excused from carrying a rifle or a pistol. I can walk with my military fatigue assured that as a general, I don't need to participate in war. So let those captains and colonels go to court and challenge these atrocities. I've done my part.
Right. Well, we look at this, it's the chiefs today, it was teachers yesterday, it's across board different sectors, and so if we can zoom out from this and look at what will be happening on a national scale, it's important for us to do so. That there seems to be a general leaning or alignment towards what will happen in election in the next 1.5 years. And are we disingenuous then for looking at these issues one by one, and that they could point to what could possibly happen in 2027? Are we in the Book of Lamentations for too long, that everything we see has to be something that could have an untoward ending? Or should we, and are we being too careful, too cautious? Are Kenyans getting to the point where they're overcritical of everything and want to point that there could be something, untoward happening by nature of the fact that, a few things are discussed here and there?
Kenya is a body politic, and Kenyans are the most accomplished politicians, comparable only to the Athenians and the Romans of ancient time, because we have the most transformative constitution. Yesterday we had this conference at Safari Park, and I said we may as well have the qualification of a law degree as the entry requirement for every male and female adult Kenyan, because that's Kenya. We are so informed. And the information necessitates that we interrogate these issues, and it's not a false alarm. It's not a false alarm. We are entitled, it's our right. The Constitution has given us the right to interrogate each and everything that the government does. And it doesn't matter even if we proceed from an erroneous premise. It's none of our business. Our work is to question. The work of the government is to work within the Constitution. Often, they'll want to veer off the trail and the track But the people must maintain their eternal vigilance. So to answer your question, we're not being overcautious. I mean, we're dealing with people who are predisposed to doing wrong. So we should always proceed from the premise that anything they do, even if it is a good thing, it's a wrong thing. And let them prove to us that it's the right thing.
We have something that looks like this, and so it's a bit confusing. That every now and then there are things that pop out of the woodwork, and then you want to ask questions about, okay, what does this mean? The CS in the Ministry of Interior and National Administration had come up a couple of months ago with Jukwa Lausalama. And again, he was engaging individuals around these same administrative sectors. It's a bit of a whiplash situation, because then we're not quite sure what's happening with that, what's happening with this, and there seem to be a lot of avenues for which money is being spent, and for which there is no explanation and or accountability for the same. It puts Kenyans in a bit of a difficult situation, because you're not really sure who's doing what and for what purpose. One would have imagined that what these established in State House on Monday is what the Jukwa Lausalama was supposed to be with, President CS Murkomen, or at least that they could marry in one way or another. Does it speak of, confuse them so that they don't ask too many questions?
Well, the confusion will not succeed. The biggest criminal enterprises, the most elaborate unlawful activities are always formulated within the Ministry of Interior. There is no doubt about it. And so deliberate was the appointment of Kipchumba Murkomen in that ministry that it is no longer in the realm of conjuncture what is intended to be achieved through these nefarious schemes. And as they contrive this confusion, we must always be alert to see to it that we countermand and ensure they don't succeed. They don't mean well. That is a fact.
We look at, let's start from the lowest level that they've called the village elders, right? Who one would say then reports to an assistant chief to chief, and then we have the county commissioner. Let's look at the command structure in terms of who these provincial administrators report to and where that falls in the law. I mean, at the end of the day, is that basis enough for that to be challenged in court? Because where is it placed in the Constitution?
It's nowhere in the Constitution, but I can elaborate the pecking order. I mean, it starts with the headman, the assistant chief, the chief, the coordinator at the sub-county level, the coordinator at the county level, then there is the regional coordinator. Ideally, this mirrors the provincial administration. The headman, the assistant chief, the district officer, the district commissioner, and the provincial commissioner. This was the instrument of coercion during the reign of President Daniel Arap Moi. It is still there. It cannot be otherwise concealed. And remember, at one particular point in time, elections in Kenya were being oversighted by the provincial administration. It was the DO, the DC, and the PC who were the returning officers at those three levels. So make no mistake about it. There's no novelty in anarchy. There's no novelty in anarchy. It's a script that has been used for thousands of years. So when you see it being deployed this time, don't be surprised. Just look into it. But have the realization that it's being deployed without any anchoring in the Constitution. There is no statute that has domiciled this recidivist provincial.
Okay, you're just speaking in terms of this is the law that you're supposed to operate in.
Yes.
But you choose to completely walk outside that Constitution and assume that it's business as usual. What are we doing?
Because, you see, Kibaki retained the provincial administration. Challenges were made in court The court has pronounced itself on this matter. Okay. Kenyatta retained it. So William said, okay, fine. The previous kings have had these privileges. Why should I be denied? But they're not due. They're not justified. They're not lawful. And that is why, if somebody is listening, please start drawing the petition. Go to court. Go to court.
Okay. When we look at that and we talk about go to court, and again, because we have this conversation, it leads us to others, and it leads us into a position where the country is at the moment. It's no surprise, like you say, that when you see things happening in the succession in which they do, then you then must start asking questions. The question marks start to ring in your head, because we've just come off of an election where it was very clear that there were many things that should have been followed by the rule of law. They were not. And there seems to be excuse after excuse given as to why that can't happen. There seems to be, I don't even know what the word is, there is no appetite for following the law. Just yesterday, courts have asked that the two police bosses come to court on the 16th of December to explain where Mwenda Mbijiwe is. Explain what happened to him. I can bet you today that by the 16th of December, these two gentlemen are not going to show up in court, as has been the practice. That we say during by-elections, or any election for that matter, that elected members of parliament have no business being in a polling station. But they're all over the place like white on rice. That we say that state officers should not be involved in campaigning, but it happens. That state resources should not be employed for an election or anything that is not part of the office, but it happens. An abrogation of the rule of law time and time and time again. That money should not be spent, not budgeted for. You have 15,000 chiefs who you've told you're going to give them money in less than a year. We don't know where the money is coming from. It's not budgeted for. It's not in plain sight. Nelson, over and over and over again, what you see is that the law is being broken, but it doesn't, even if somebody goes to court, it doesn't quell the appetite for the breakage of this law. That's one of the major problems that we have. How do you counter this? How do you do that?
Self-help is still a recognized mechanism in law, and self-help has been used before. Topple kings, have them beheaded, have them hung, have them shot. It's self-help. It's permissible. So how do we deploy self-help here? You saw the other day, somebody blocked Larry Madowo on the road. That is self-help. Very effective. You get it? The judge of that drama thing is called Bernard Buga or what? Ian.
Yeah, Ian Buga.
Ian Buga. He also deployed self-help. We can deploy self-help. Go to the chief's home and tell him, you do not need this car. What is the justification for you having this car? We'll excommunicate you from this village if you continue participating in nefarious activities that offend the Constitution. In the course of campaigns or preparation for the election, stop the motorcade of Oparanya and Mudavadi and ask them, where are you going? Your cabinet secretaries. You have a flag on your SUV. You have a GK plate. Where are you going? You're not going anywhere. Okay? Stop them. Stop them. It's called self-help. It's permissible in law. Let them arrest you. We'll come to court. And our first preliminary issue will be, what was Mudavadi and Oparanya doing in Malava in the course of campaigns, yet they are cabinet secretaries. And there is no magistrate who will be able to countermand what you say. Self-help. You see, we have this constitution as a result of self-help. Kibaki and his people rigged the election, and they told us, go to court. We said, we'll not go to court, because we know you have control of the court. We'll use self-help to invalidate, to discredit your administration. You get it? And I remember then the serving president of the Law Society was my friend Okoh. He issued a statement that said this government is illegitimate. That's self-help. You follow? And deliberate, determined effort by the people is the biggest railguard against overreach by the executive. Self-help.
You know, it has been said even earlier that Kenyans are full of lamentations. That all Kenyans do is cry and not act. You bring in the aspect of Kenyans bequeath themselves, we bequeath ourselves this constitution so that it is what guides us on what we do on a daily basis.
Yes.
It is not a suggestion that this law must be respected. That even when IEBC gives its regulations, which during the campaign period is law and it's being abrogated every other time, Kenyans have an opportunity to stand up and say, Cabinet Secretaries, you ought not to be here, kindly leave. It is not, we are not begging, we are asking you to leave because the law that we gave ourselves stops you from doing all this. And with that in mind, speaks of Kenyans who should be woke to understanding that we deal with individuals who do not respect this law, but as law-abiding citizens, we will make them respect the law. That lamentation, perhaps, much as is being talked about, responsibility on Kenyans to respect the law and push everybody else to toe the line, right?
Yeah. The Book of Lamentations must always be read, so there's no problem. But there's something that I need to emphasize. All revolutions, all calls for change, they are always catalyzed by the middle class. Larry Madowo stood his ground and said, you will not bully me. You will not contravene traffic laws. Ian Mbugua stood his ground. They are the middle class moving towards the upper class because the lower class will cheer in awe that the minister is driving on the side, on the wrong side. They will cheer. Sorry to say, they will cheer. You get it? The lower class will be very excited that Oparanya and Budavadi have arrived in Kakamega. They will cheer. You get it? So the catalysm must permeate the entire middle class and to a large extent maybe the upper class because they are the ones who stand to lose most. You see, Larry stands to lose most when traffic laws are not obeyed because he's driving. The person on his feet stands to lose nothing when laws are disobeyed. You get it? The middle class, the owners of business, the employed, the income earners, the job creators stand to lose most when the law is violated. These are the people, and you understand. And unfortunately, to a large extent, these people will tell you, Harvey, you run an illustrious legal practice. Why do you want to go and dirty yourself in politics? That is stupidity of the highest order. Politics is not a dirty game. In fact, politics is the science of good governance. Good governance can only be undertaken by clean people. So when clean people like myself volunteer to serve, it is incumbent upon the middle class and the upper class to embrace. You understand? They may be in the minority, but often the lower class will listen to the middle class and the upper class. So let us all volunteer to serve in elective positions. That is the only way. You know, I stay in traffic. You get it?
Yes.
Although I know if I was to veer off and a policeman comes and I lower, there's a, rice Peter. You understand?
Yeah.
But as my friend Nashon Nyaga always tells me, say, you Harvey, you and I are different because we went to Sunday school. Our mothers and fathers taught us not to pick a coin on your way from the market and buy Patco. You will be beaten to death. So if we cannot steal a coin, how do you expect us to go and steal 1 million shillings? We won't. You get it? And it's those of us with these values and ethos who have to replace these scoundrels that are in elective office. The middle class and the upper class need to see the propriety of good governance. You will lose if traffic laws are not being followed. You lose if the tax regime is compromised. You lose if the education system is interfered with. You lose when the health care system interfered with. The people in the lower class don't lose anything because they have nothing to lose. For them, a mattress is sufficient. To them, a slice of bread and soda is sufficient because they live now and now.
Minute to minute.
Yeah, but you need to help them to live here and thereafter.
Yes.
Do you think that there needs to be a certain amount of agitation that needs to occur in order for that thing that we're talking about to be the case? Because there are lulls and then there are highs, that it comes to a point where you look into society and you say, okay, yes, folks are adequately charged to say something needs to be done. And then that, goes, and then it crescendos again. And then it lulls, and then it crescendos. Must people be kept at a constant state of agitation in order for a change to come about? Revolutions, most of the ones that we see around the world, are at the places where people had come to their ends and said, we're not going to allow this anymore. Whether it was the Industrial Revolution, when people said, we have to mechanize and we have to move from one place to the next. Whether it was revolutions of government, where people said, we can't do this anymore, and chop off Marie Antoinette's head. This is the kind of thing that we say. Do people have to be so frustrated to the point whereby they say, Nana, we may not even wait to an election, as you have often said? Does that have to be the status quo in order for change to come?
We don't need to be in perpetual agitation for a revolution. We just need to ensure that the revolution does not replace Marie Antoinette with her daughter or her son. Because that's what revolutions in Kenya have done. What did we achieve after the 25th June protest? Of course, we got the president to reject the finance bill, but what did the president do? Purported to fire the entire cabinet and replace the cabinet with scoundrels worse than the ones he had fired. You get it? So we dropped the ball, okay? And in fact, and I've said this on this platform, didn't we cheer? Did we celebrate? Were there no homecomings when William Samoei Ruto appointed the very same person who had called William Samoei Ruto's cabinet as skunks into the cabinet?
Right.
We cheered. There was a homecoming.
Yes.
Yeah, we are the fools. We are the idiots. You see, I've created this premise. There's an average of 22 non-professional organizations in Kenya. Professions with certain standards. We need these people to be in elective and appointive offices. How many cabinet slots do we have? 22.
Yes.
So let them be occupied by professionals. Article 73 of the Constitution says the leadership and integrity. For appointive office, it must be based on competence and suitability. What? Competence and suitability. So if you're not a medical doctor, what is your competence and suitability to serve as cabinet secretary?
For health.
For health. Okay? If you're not an expert in education, you are a damn lawyer like me, making noise every day to earn a living. What is your qualification on account of competence and suitability to serve as cabinet secretary? Education. If you are a damn lawyer like me, in fact, a worse lawyer, what is your competence, suitability, okay, to serve as the cabinet secretary of defense? Tell me, which cabinet secretary of defense in the United States is not a general? Tell me. It is there in the Constitution.
Yeah.
But when the stupid appointments are made, we cheer. We have homecoming for these scoundrels. We must say no. Refuse to attend these homecomings. Stop the car and ask Soipan, what is your competence and suitability to be the cabinet secretary of defense? Stop the car and ask Bigo Sogomba, what is your competence and suitability to the cabinet secretary of education? Stop the car and ask Duale, can you treat a patient? You see, in England, if the king or the queen is sick, the first doctor is the cabinet secretary in charge of public health to attend to the king or the queen. Can he go and attend to the king and the queen when they are sick?
Can you go to state health?
You know, I'm enraged. Yeah, I'm really enraged.
Yes.
And I want Kenyans to be enraged because you can never be pivotal in decision making unless the wrong thing sufficiently enrages you to take action.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you're angry enough.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who is the cabinet secretary in charge of agriculture, sports? Yeah. I remember all the ministers in Moi's administration. I don't remember the cabinet secretaries in this administration because they are nobodies. You get it? And we have allowed these nobodies to be in charge of very serious responsibilities of national government.
a lot to be thought of, you know. And this is that we see things in society, but then they're actually synonymous with other things that are happening, and for us to then make the connection is very important. And discourse is important. To be engaged in these things, you can't know what to do next if you're not clicked into the conversation. Alison Harvey, thank you for being here with us this morning.
Always a pleasure. Hope I've not enraged the studio.
Or perhaps that's what's needed.
Perhaps that's what's needed. We're not angry enough. You know?
At 9:05, good morning. More conversations continue after this. Thanks.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. President William Ruto says he's held discussions with the International Monetary Fund Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva in Washington, D.C. on broadening avenues of collaboration. Writing on X, Ruto, who's in the U.S. to witness the signing of the DRC-Rwanda peace agreement seeking to address decades of conflicts in eastern DRC, said the meeting was productive. He said they agreed to forge a forward-looking partnership built on transparency, mutual understanding, and a shared commitment to sound economic governance. Ruto highlighted the contribution of the IMF to Kenya's economy, noting that it now ranks the 6th largest in Africa. 5 suspects charged with conspiracy to defraud the late Mombasa business tycoon Sheikh Tahir Said TTS of 8.7 billion shillings 8 years ago have been acquitted. Mombasa Chief Magistrate Alex Ithukua said the 5 have no case to answer. He said the prosecution failed to adduce evidence to link James Mwangi, Awi Ahmed, Zahir Abbas, Zain Ahmed and Victor Were to the offense. The magistrate said there was no complaint in the case. He said TTS's widow and daughter, who were mentioned having participated in the transfer of shares, were not called to give evidence. Tea farmers from Tumaita Tea Factory in Gishugu, Kirinyaga County, have given the government an ultimatum of 21 days to deliver fertilizer, saying the delay has contributed to production of low-quality tea. Led by their chairman, Richard Magu, the farmers said the fertilizer is delivered at the wrong time. The farmers said the fertilizer is delivered in June, but they get it in December when it's hot and dry.
Miaka ile ingine tuko tunatoa fertilizer mwezi wa 6 na sasa tunaletewa mwezi wa Disemba. Hata saa zingine haijafika yote. Sasa sisi tumeuliza serikali ituangalilie kama mkulima wa majani chai, watuletee fertilizer wakati unaofaa. Sio wakati ati fertilizer mvua imeenda ndio tunaletewa fertilizer. Kama wakulima tunaomba serikali tafadhali tuwe tunaletewa fertilizer mwezi wa 6 wakati mvua iko karibu.
Residents of El Munkush in Kajiado East are once again raising alarm over a fallen 3-phase power pole that has remained unattended for days despite multiple reports to Kenya Power. The locals say the damaged pole has plunged parts of the area into darkness and now poses a serious safety risk. According to the residents, exposed live wires and the unstable structure could easily trigger fire or cause electrocution. They are now urging Kenya Power to act swiftly and restore power to the area before the situation turns tragic.
Ilianguka. Sisi ndio tulikuja kukata na panga. Sisi ndio tulikata na panga. Tunaita watu wa Kenya Power wakuje hapa. Tumeenda kwa maofisi zote, hatupati majibu. So tunaomba mbunge wetu, MCA wetu wa area na governor wote wajumuike pamoja watu wa Kenya Power. Hizi vikingi ambazo zilianguka ingekuwa imesharudishiwa. Ndio mchunge maisha ya wanadamu, especially watoto. Mtoto mdogo akija, wao wanakuja kucheza na hizi nyaya ya stima na inaweza leta madhara.
Tumetengwa sisi kimaendeleo. Kwa sababu ukiona hii stima imekaa mwezi kama imeanguka na ilikuwa na stima.
The Eurovision Song Contest faces a battle for its future at a watershed meeting in Geneva today. Organizers and participating countries will debate whether Israel should be allowed to continue in the competition amid protests over the way its government conducted its war in Gaza and accusations of unfair voting practices. Countries including Ireland, Spain, the Netherlands and Slovenia have said they will boycott Eurovision if Israel participates. Germany has indicated it will pull out if Israel is excluded. The meeting comes after anti-Israel protesters attempted to disrupt both the 2024 and 2025 contests, citing their opposition to the Palestinian death toll in Gaza. That's the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
If we just gloss over issues and hope that time heals, then we might find that in generations to come, we might be back at the same situation. And the whole thing is born of stolen elections.
Spice.
When it comes to the decisions you make, you must be independent. There's no way you can allow one institution to dictate to you how you're going to conduct your operations, how you're going to decide cases. It's a no.
When you weaken the institution to the point where they cannot take action, then you realize that politicians have to come up and now start dealing with the issues.
That conversation has to die. Our politicians do not like the hard stuff. We must insist on the path of doing things right, whether popular or unpopular.
Money changes hands. That is a fact. If you have political goodwill at the highest top, like in Rwanda, then corruption will be an issue of the past. If you don't have political goodwill at the top, we will pass laws, we will amend laws, we will continue passing laws and re-amending laws, and nothing will happen.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It is 7 minutes after 9 o'clock, and our conversations continue this morning. And as we look into some things, I have to ask you what your plan is, how you've been thinking about life, what are the things that you must do when it comes to your future, right? So we've been discussing how to navigate this constantly changing world. And when it comes to your money, you need a plan that's easy to access. The good news, well, Joyline is making your financial journey seamless and digital. Forget the old-fashioned, complicated stuff. Joyline has digital channels like WhatsApp, chatbot, Leo, and their self-service portal, making planning super easy. They even have a retirement preparedness index tool. It helps you calculate exactly how much you need for retirement and gives you a specific target towards that. You want 100 million shillings? They'll tell you, Basi, every month, this is the kind of money that you need to put aside. Joyline is making insurance and investments necessities, not luxuries, for a diverse group of people. Find your accessible, inclusive, and helpful plan today. Just ask, what's your plan? Check out the digital tools at icealion.co.ke, and that question will be answered. And if you don't have bundles to be able to get on the icealion.co.ke, Mr. Aseto has a solution for you.
Now, you see, when you talk about Leo, I know someone is smiling because they've had the name Leo. But when you need to chat with this chatbot Leo, right?
Okay.
You need bundles. And these bundles, you only need a bundle that will enable you to do that without worrying that your bundle, your internet, your data will cut off. This is where Airtel steps in with the Airtel Happy Hour Fun bundles that are unlimited. So you spend 19 shillings to get 1 hour worth of unlimited data. You spend 45 shillings and you get 3 hours of unlimited data bundles, And this is just so that when you are chatting with these chatbot Leo, I'll stick there. When you're chatting with Leo, you are sure that Leo will handle all your issues throughout and give you a resolution to your issues that you're raising. That when you are watching that movie, when you are traveling, you need to have a bundle that will have you enjoy your movie from start to the end. But how do you get this? Airtel is telling you *544# is what you dial, or go to your My Airtel app to buy this bundle. But if you're not on Airtel yet, you go to your nearest Airtel shop and you buy yourself a SIM card and you're able to get these. But remember, we're telling you, for you to be able to enjoy this even some more, we're going to give you 3,000 shillings.
Okay.
3,000 shillings, but you only have to talk to Christine through our social media platforms, and she will talk to you. She will pick your story because you will tell us how you've missed out on opportunities, how your life has been interfered with because your bundle cut out. So go to our social media platforms, talk to Christine, and the 3,000 shillings worth of Airtel bundle is yours.
Fantastic. It's like a magician twirling the wand so you can do something. Guess what other kind of magic we're making as we get into the festive season? Drop everything you're doing. Drop it. Have you dropped it?
Kabisa.
Thanks. Now, this is the official final call. There have been many final calls. This is the final one from Naivas. The biggest savings event of the year. Black November is being extended and is entering into its final stretch. The time is now to save up to 60% off across nearby really nearly every single category: electronics, fresh food, kitchenware, daily essentials, and much more. We're talking about massive, unbeatable prices. We're giving away iron boxes, toasters, blenders, and heaters every week. And the big ones, 45 motorcycles, 6 vehicles, brand new, plus TVs, fridges, cookers, and more. It's so simple. All you need to do is register for your loyalty card, do your shopping, and if you win, the winning message will appear on your receipt the minute you pay. This festive season, take advantage of Lipa Pole Pole or the convenient buy now, pay later option. And you can also use Faraja on your M-Pesa for 0 interest installments. Shop more, stress less. That's the Naivas way. Now, before I go, here's one more thing. The icon is returning. Get ready. Kenya, because the one, the only, the Naivas Kikwetu legendary Mbuzi is coming back. So what you need to do, keep it locked, talk to CEO on the Spice Drive this and every evening so you can get more details. You need to shop smart and stay tuned with Naivas, because Naivas does what? It saves you money. What more? What else?
Nothing.
Cindy.
So we were from planning yourself, getting bundles, and saving money. Hey, your booze.
Saving money. Yeah. Absolutely. This is what we're all for. This is what we're trying to do. So get into the festive season. And you know what? Where you can make all of these things happen. Is that Sorry? We'll tell you more information about that on another day. It's another day for that. Yes. We're going to have a conversation around funding for health. And of course, World AIDS Day was on the 1st of December. But then remembering that we've seen heightened levels of infections. We'll have that conversation in just a little while once our guest gets here. Now, Witness has been a place's priestess at the center of Shakahola and Binzaro cults. This case is still going on, just in case you were wondering, that the world, if your world is Kenya and if Kenya is your world, that bodies of Kenyans and others were exhumed from the ground.
Yes.
That people had been buried in numbers, and this was at the Shakahola Ranch. And we saw that now this year, the Binzaro cult is another one where people's bodies were still being exhumed. And these cases are in court, but as we report on them, it's interesting to know that they still continue.
Yeah.
Now, a witness in the ongoing murder trial of controversial preacher Paul Mackenzie has disclosed that self-styled priestess Charlene Temba Anido was his immediate neighbor in the Shakahola forest, placing her at the heart of 2 cult activities. So they were testifying, of course, before a Mombasa court. The witness said Miss Anido, who is believed to be the mastermind of the Kwabinzaro cult deaths, lived next to the family in a settlement eerily christened Judea. She said, I know her. She was our neighbor in Shakahola, although I do not know where she is now. She was telling Mr. Robert Keithy. This is Mr. Robert Keithy, the witness. He told the court that he never spoke nor shared a word with her, yet Miss Anido's presence lingered, a familiar silhouette among the forest-tangled paths. Mr. Keithy lives in Judea with his father, Gilbert Kerr, his mother, Percy Gage, and 6 siblings. Evidence presented to court shows that Mackenzie had divided the expansive forest into biblical villages. It gets a little bit crazier. Yeah. Hang on. Named after sacred sites such as Bethlehem, Nazareth, and Judah. They were mapped out just as places to live, not just as places to live, but as symbolic sanctuaries meant to reprogram the minds of more than 700 followers who came seeking salvation. So now you come seeking salvation, and what better way to tell you where you live than in Bethlehem.
Judea.
I mean, for goodness sake. The prosecution argues that the naming served a dual purpose: to reinforce the perceived spiritual significance of the forest and to cultivate a sense of divine destiny among Mackenzie's followers, known as Wateule, meaning the chosen ones. To the indoctrinated faithful, Shakahola was not just an ordinary Kenyan forest, but a sacred realm where they awaited the imminent rapture, which Mackenzie and his followers referred to as Kunya Kuliwa. The 8 settlements were Galilee, Judea, Bethlehem, Jerusalem, Emmaus, Sidonia, Tiru, and Sikare. Every follower was allocated land on arrival. So when you come, we give you a village inside one of these holy sites. Shakahola, who did it belong to? This is the question.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit crazier. Each village was managed by a close cabinet of trusted Mackenzie loyalists, including Smart Derry Mwakalama and Evans Columbus Syria. Mackenzie himself lived in Judea, okay? The Kevi family moved to Judea in early 2022 after leaving Malindi town. His confirmation that he knew Miss Anido strengthened the state's position that she was among those rescued from Shakahola in 2023 or among those who were narrowly escaped with police dragnet during the operation that led to the arrest of hundreds of followers of the outlawed Good News International Church. So there was some crazy stuff going on here. Demarcate them into biblical regions, let people know that they had actually entered holy ground and that they were on their way to heaven. The case continues, but I don't think we've been able to appreciate really the extent and depth to this operation and in terms of what was happening to people. Many have said that they did this, out of their own volition. They agreed to do it. Nobody forced them. But guess what? People are dead. Almost 700 bodies found. Kwabinzaro, a little bit more than some more that added to that number. But that people died, and that people, you would be surprised, even with this going on, are waiting for their leaders to come back so that they continue their sojourn to heaven.
Ndu, when we talk about what happened in Shakahola, we look at Mackenzie and call him out for what he did. But we cannot do that and not ask where the administration was. This morning we've just gone deep on provincial administration that still does exist, right? We've talked about the chiefs who are there, and their sub-chiefs. And these are the local people who understand, who know each and every single person and what is happening in these areas. So as we call out those who are in charge of the deaths, that we've seen in Kwabinzaro and Shakahola, we equally must see those with the responsibility of ensuring security, intelligence officers, police officers, who are responsible of security of each and every single individual, to equally be brought forward and be taken to court to explain where they were and why there were lapses. Because Shakahola, we're talking about around 700 people who died during the fasting period, right?
Yes.
Question is...
Well, at least 700 people whose bodies were exhumed. I think the number was 637.
Yes.
Right.
So let's look at 600 people. How long were they in that forest? For 600 people to have died.
Well, look, when did we find, not we, but when did the country note that there were bodies in Shakahola? This was 2023. 2023 is when they first found this out. Some of these guys are talking about how they've been living there since 2021. I've been living in Judea for 2 years before somebody found out.
You want to tell me government machinery, intelligence that we have, intelligence that in Kenya would know what is being planned in Somalia, would not know what is happening in Shakahola in Kilifi County?
Yeah, but these are some of the questions that are being asked, that how does something this major happen and nobody knows? If entire families shifted. This one was living with his 6 siblings and his father in Judea or Judah or wherever it is that he was, Bethlehem, Galilee. The first thing is mirth. You want to laugh, but it's very serious in terms of how minds were indoctrinated to the point whereby they went. And we've talked about this before, but we'll keep talking about it so that we can understand that this thing is real. That people, grown men and women, at who you assume would then be able to think separately of, that they were able to be told this thing, and you can move from where you live and work to go and live in the forest because it's been called holy ground. The mind is extremely impressionable, whether you're talking to a child or whether you're talking to an adult. Because also, the desperation that meets people can only then be dealt with by this indoctrination that we're talking about. Karl Marx, when he said that religion is the opium of the people, and he went on to say a number of other things, he must have been on something. He was onto something. Because there's something that tells you that, well, maybe I can be getting to a better place. Maybe I can live in a state of peace, nirvana, whatever it is. But that is the thing that keeps you on this drug. That you are not aware of your realities. And when somebody tells you starve, you say starve. Somebody tells you starve next week, starve your children, we say, okay, why not? Let's do it. What are the back end stories here? Why are people so desperate to the point whereby you can look at your 6 children and starve your children to death?
And Jacinda, as we talk about that, then brings the conversation on, as a country, just how good is our mental health? You know, because we've done studies, we have reports on where we as a country, mental health has been considered as being a ticking time bomb in the country, you know. So when you speak of professionals, people who are working in well-paying jobs in the country, leaving those jobs to go deep in the forest because they have the belief that this is where my problems will be sorted out, brings the question, as we have these reports on mental health of the country, and there is means or mechanisms on how we are going to address that. Are we doing that? Are we following up on where Kenyans are? What kind of doctrines it is we have? The kind of preaching that we get out here? Or have we just left it in the sense that these are adults, they can make their own decision? But then again, what is our responsibility in making sure that as we consume the report, we are doing something about it? It's not just a report on a shelf. That as we talk about, we have bodies that do regulate all these churches, that they do that in accordance to what it is they've signed up for? Or do we just leave it up in the sense that we've given you the powers to rule, now you go do that which you have to do? What's the responsibilities of duty bearers in making sure that each and every single thing that they have been given, that they are part of, becomes a reality, and that attention is given to them? I hear you, Aseto. But then I'm also wondering here that in this case, this is, and I would love to then be able to hear from us. Maybe we can do that at least. Can we blame anybody apart from the individual who made the decision and the person who was allegedly asking them to do this? Because when you ask government, I mean, it sounds so crazy because it's so nice to be able to blame government. It's nice. But I mean, in this case, can you blame? Surely, yes, people moved into this place. There were rumors that maybe, people were dying and being buried, and that the government can step in and say stop, and can put that to bed. But can you put to bed the mindset which somebody can come? Look, the government stepped in. There was a Senate committee. They went down to Kilifi. They saw this thing happening. Bodies were being exhumed. Johansen Oduor was sleeping in agents the whole day and night to make sure they could find out who these people were. The next year, and this was public. This was public knowledge. Everybody knew what was happening with Shakahola. The next year, Kwabinzaro, not 2 years later, Kwabinzaro happens. This was this year. So what explanation do you want to give? We say that, okay, yes, government should have stepped in. They should have shut this thing down. But this thing had already permeated the minds of people. That 2 years later, even when we were all shocked, we're like, what? People said all sorts of things. Oh, it's, what did they say? Organ trafficking. That's in this, and this one big thing is what's happening. And then it's so terrible. People are looking for their loved ones. You can't find them. Then we cry. Children are being starved to death because they want to go to heaven. So you would imagine that it is so terrible. It's such a grotesque thing. Nobody would ever be to do that again. 2025. Kwabinzaro. Here we are again. So can we say government has a role to play, or is it just people? People, what happens to you to the point whereby you say, okay, yeah, here's my 5-year-old boy here. Somebody says we can go to heaven, so I starve my child. What? You're right. What mental space are you in? Are people in for you to then be able to say, okay, fine, how about we starve this child then? For God's sake.
What are we doing? People have been, and another thing. Sorry, it runs the same thread that here we are and people have been scammed of money. Then somebody comes and says, "Come and put your eye in this machine," and people are lining up. People come and in fact, can I put 2? Can I put 2 eyes? Then give me 7,000 bob. What is that thing that even when you've seen it go wrong, you still say, let me come and do it again? In this case, I say we have a problem here. I can't blame government.
You see, the reason why I'm roping in government in this, right? It's because we have Kenyans, right, who are here. We start with asking, where is our mental space? There is a reason why that report with the good Daktari went out there to do their research and came out with that report that placed where Kenya is in terms of mental space, what mental space we are in. Yeah. And it was found we are in the trenches, right? But here's a question where, as we talk about Kenyans who are messed up and the decisions that they do make, then what is the role of government in taking care of these Kenyans? Right? Because remember, it is the very same government that has been put in place by these very Kenyans with their messed up mental health, right? And the government promised to protect these Kenyans, give them their constitutional right to life, and protect them in all these spaces. So if we have an individual who understands to play with the psyche, to convince this individual to do that which that will hurt them and harm them, then the government, by the way, when asked the question, this ought to have been a place where is being manned and protected by the government, because remember, Shakahola is still a crime scene.
It is.
Where is the government in making sure that another Shakahola 2 does not happen?
It has happened. Binzaro has already happened.
It has happened, you know, because someone slept on the job. So whilst we will blame Kenyans, and rightfully so, for making these tough decisions, they take the blame because you can't divorce them from that. But then again, we must equally ask the government, what did you do to protect this Kenyan? What have you done to stop this from reoccurring? Because if we just say, let's blame them, Shakahola 3 will come.
If it has not already happened, and I said no sooner than that has happened, we then saw people who said that they're Joseph and Mary.
Yes.
And then they're in a center, and then human beings, people are actually following them to say, yes, this is the 2025 version of Moses, Joseph and Mary living. Now, I don't understand. Is it Virgin Mary? She's then going to give birth to Jesus? Or has she come then? So then now she's leading a flock. And people follow. People are attending those churches.
You remember when I talked about the doctrine that has been permeated, has been allowed to operate in the country, right? What are we doing with that? Are we checking people who are here practicing and not following these doctrines? And if they are not really registered to any doctrines, then how then do we all move in to ensure that everyone plays by the rule? Or is it an open book that anyone can walk in and write it and operate as they want?
Those are the questions, and we have to ask them. The Shakahola case is still going on in courts, of course, in Mombasa, and then to be able to find out then what happens as a result of this. A worrying thing, and it seems to be a trend, but it seems that it's low-hanging fruit for anybody who wants to confuse the minds of those who are already desperate. It calls on us to be desperate and to be woke about some of these things, folks, then to be able to ask ourselves some questions that are important. Let's end this on a note of optimism. Let me try and do that for you. Because at its core, ICA Lion is in the business of human growth and the joy of a better life. They want to romance the benefits of planning for the future in an upbeat, memorable way. This isn't about fear. It's about the great life you can build when you're prepared. They help discerning individuals create wealth and protect themselves through innovative services. So whether it's about wealth generation, protecting assets, or retirement security, ICA Lion is a brand for you. If you're not planning for the future with insurance and investments, it's high time you did. So what's your plan? Get started on that better life at icealion.co.ke. All right, our conversation will shift a little bit, and as we get into it, we're going to be having a conversation round about some of the issues around HIV domestic funding and the numbers. Emily Moko Munene is here, and I will say finally, she joins us this morning for us to have a conversation just around this. Emily, good morning.
Good morning to you. How are you?
I am well.
Yes, I'm well too.
Did you get lost?
Not really. I'm not very new in the Standard Group premises.
Okay, did somebody hijack you?
Well, it's a long story in Nairobi. And being a frontline runner, anything can happen at night between the time you are planning to be somewhere and then an emergency can come up. I'm a frontline runner as a caregiver and also patient support system, Barasa and state actor.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, thank you for being here this morning, and for us to, in the time that we have, to then be able to look into this matter. But before you do, Dennis will welcome you with today's proverb. We'd love to get your interpretation of it.
Yes, the proverb comes from western part of the continent, West Africa, and it says, a fool has to say something, a wise person has something to say.
A fool has to say something.
A wise person has something to say. How would you interpret that?
Well, it means a wise person says what needs to be said or what has value at the right time. But a foolish person would just speak for the sake of speaking or just because there's space to alter something.
Well, what can do?
Something to utter.
Yes.
Just because you can.
Just because you can. Just because you have vocal cords. Just
you want to practice with them.
Yes.
You want to strum the chords. And maybe what we're hearing is not a nice lullaby.
Well, according to my understanding, that is how
well interpreted. Well interpreted.
Yes.
Interpretation works. All right. We celebrated or commemorated World AIDS Day on the 1st of December. And this comes after decades of having to fight with the infections of HIV, which at some point leads to AIDS, but has been managed for the longest time with, world-breaking technologies and also research that then has allowed human beings who have been infected with the virus to then live. A lot of that for the developing world has been funded by the developed world.
Yes.
And so HIV financing, or rather HIV treatment and quality care financing, fortunately and unfortunately, has been handled by those who have the lowest rate of infections for and supporting those countries that have the highest rate of infections. We're looking at a totally different time now where a lot of that funding has been pulled. PEPFAR, which of course is under the United States Development Agency, pulled a lot of that funding, and that was under a directive from the US.
Yes.
We talk about it as though we understand just how detrimental that was to the lives of those who need it for support. But maybe we just don't understand what happens when somebody who is living with HIV doesn't get their medication. What does that mean?
It is worse than even a baby missing the mother's milk. Because when a baby misses the mother's milk, they can always be able to find something else to take. But as for HIV and the drugs, the life-sustaining drugs, as we call them, or life-prolonging drugs, if a client misses the drugs, they have no alternative, they have no choice. Because here it's not a question of where you'll say, if I don't get a Panadol, I can be able to go and get a paracetamol. And the drugs are very expensive. So even if they are available in the market, most of our clients or patients will not be able to afford the drugs. So actually right now we can say the lives of those living positive is under siege. Well, to a certain extent, I try to choose, borrowing from what you said, those who have a low rate of infections. That's the foreign governments have been funding us where our rates of infections are very high. And it's like, I've come to a room here, so I find you've littered. And maybe where I've come from, I put my house in order, but want me to go and buy a broom to sweep for you.
Yes.
To keep your place clean. And when we say the rates of new infections are high, it means we keep on littering, and because we have somebody who will always clean it for us. Now, our cleaners, that is the foreign fund, have gone on strike, or they are pulled away. They have said, we shall no longer clean for you. Because what is their benefit when they give us the HIV funding or the health fund? What does American gain from it? Remember, HIV fund, HIV and even diseases like cancer, which were being funded, or even malaria, they do not affect the foreign donors in any way. It's not like the case where we had the COVID-19 or tuberculosis, which are respiratory infections and can affect even the tourists coming to our country.
Right.
But for HIV, it is our own problem. It is our own challenge, and we have to find our own local solutions within us. So we have to take it from that point, say this is our challenge, and we have to sort it ourselves, and we cannot even sue the American government or even the France government, who have also said they are pulling out or reducing what they are giving to the Global Fund for pulling out, because they don't owe us. So our health is supposed to be our responsibility.
Right.
Yes.
So, Emily, health ought to be our responsibility. Foreign governments, rightfully so, they chose to either help us or not. They have pulled out. But are we seeing movement internally to bridge that gap?
It's a tall order. It's a tall order. First of all, I sympathize with those who are beneficiaries of the medication, because most of them were not aware that they were being funded by the donors. All they knew that there was organizations like PEPFAR, CDC, USAID, and would go to the clinic and will be told, on this day, come for your medication. And then you have people following you to remind you even to take your medication. But little did they know where the money was coming from for that. Very few people are aware of that. So now when they are being told they cannot be able to access that life-saving medication, then they are wondering, what is this? It's a shock to most of them. Those who are aware is maybe the government ministries and the NGOs who were the conduits of ensuring that the medication was available. So, with sustainability of providing this life-saving medication, at the moment, it is still, I can say we are still in turmoil. It will take time for us to get a proper strategy on how we can do it. And remember, not that we cannot manufacture the ARVs locally. But you see, if there is somebody to do for you, then why do you think outside?
So we become lazy.
We become lazy because Camry would have, it's there for that purpose.
Okay.
Why do we have the CDC, although it's American funded, but we have the branch in Kenya?
There's an HQ, there's an Africa CDC.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So let me ask this question. You said ARVs are available in Kenya. It's not a problem of that they're not available. They are available in Kenya.
Yes.
That if you needed them, you would then be able to go into get a doctor's note, go pick up ARVs for a month. The problem is that they are expensive.
Yes.
And that they may not be readily available to the population of folks who needs them.
Yes.
How much money, what's the going rate essentially for a month's worth of ARVs?
Maybe you're talking about maybe 20,000 to get it proper and supplement, although I'm not very sure about the statistics.
So looking at
the information, but that's what I would roughly estimate. And do you know why I'm not even able to give the information? Because these are drugs that you've been getting for free. So nobody has bothered to know, or it has not been our interest to find out the cost of the medication, of the ARVs.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we're looking about 20,000 shillings, give or take, for this is medication, of course, that is taken every day.
Yes.
And what it does is that it keeps the viral load of the HIV at bay, essentially. So it's not. It's keeping it down. It's suppressing the virus, right? So that's what you do essentially. So it doesn't now come and manifest in other ways. All of this that has been taken care of for free. So that meant folks were going to a particular facility on the treatment, getting the medication and going, not paying a cent.
Not paying a cent for it.
Have we seen that with the withdrawal of this funding, that there's some people who would ordinarily go in who have then not been able to get their treatment?
There are people, many people are not getting the treatment. And then, remember also we have some supply which is in stock, but with the stop to work order, most of the health providers, the champions who used to be the ones to take the medication to the patients or clients, are not funded now to take. Like if you have to go 10 kilometers, maybe to pick the medication and take it to a particular facility for the clients to access. These health workers are being laid off. So even the medication which is in stock may not be able to reach the beneficiaries before it expires. Yeah. So we have a lot of people, and then others out of shock that maybe after so many months they will not be able to access the free medication. Even the little they had, they're already giving up, not bothered with it at all, because they're saying, when should I take when tomorrow is I'm not sure of tomorrow. Yeah.
So we look at the situation where even the stats that we got, it was this month, right? The stats that we got this month just is an indicator of perhaps before the United States pulled out of this funding. So are we staring then at a situation that perhaps is worse than what we know? And if that's the situation, Ministry of Health, in terms of moving in then to have discussion with these individuals, because if you talk about 20,000 a month, we're talking about almost $250,000 a year for you to just sustain yourself for an entire year. Are we having these discussions on how we plug that? Because President William Ruto is in the United States today to have discussions on health. Is this, maybe if you have information, part of the discussions that will be there? But even while at that, are we approaching possibilities of being a manufacturing hub to be able to take care of our sick, if you have the information?
I may not have the information, although he might be the president might be discussing about health, but I don't know if that discussion will yield to having health financing, international health financing back in place. But all the same, I don't know also whether the Ministry of Health or even the CSOs and NGOs are out there now to dialogue with the clients, because it's still like going to people who are hungry and to tell them, can we talk? It shall be well. Keep on breathing, and eventually maybe we'll be able to get the food. In a situation where they know very well the food might not be forthcoming. Remember, the health matters. Even before the donor funding was cut, we were talking about domestic health financing. And even that domestic health financing is not sustainable if we do not talk on prevention measures.
Are we not talking about prevention? I remember, we're much younger then, but I remember when this whole thing of HIV and then AIDS came up, and the messaging was very clear that this is what will happen to you if you don't do this. And that's how we had the famous ABCs of HIV, right? Yes. So the prevention then saw a drop in the cases or the rate of infection over the years, because the first time it hit, we had, of course, the pictures of entire villages, towns being swept out. Yes. We had grandparents taking care of babies, because that entire generation had been wiped out by HIV, with the highest, with the cause of sexual transmission being the highest in terms of percentages. So then it became very clear in the minds of people that, okay, wait a minute, if I don't protect myself, the chances of me getting HIV then are very high. As a result, we saw a drop in the rates of infection. So the message hit home. As grotesque as some of those images were, it did something in the minds of people. But now, we are back there, it seems, or am I wrong? Whereby we are saying to people again that we need to be talking about prevention.
Yes.
In order, because this is not a wash your hands kind of thing.
Remember when
it's different.
Yeah, during those days when we were talking about prevention, ARVs were not there.
Right.
There was no alternative. Is you get AIDS, and we knew the ultimate, it was a death warrant at the time. I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah.
But that is how it was during the early days. Yes, last week I met a girl we were launching a program somewhere. And she came to me and she told me, I remember you came to our high school. And when you came there, when we were teaching us about HIV and prevention, I thank God because I was a beneficiary. We actually did what we were saying, zip up and abstain. You know, those things like, if you can't, whatever it, zip it up. Nita chill, you know, those kind of things. The messages were there. Now, the messages are not there now. And if they are there, we only hear them during the commemoration of the World AIDS Day. That was postponed by the Americans in their country or with their funding. Then, with the new HIV infections being rated highest among adolescents and the youth. And you are saying in school, that's where the messages, or in the youth, or in the villages, those things were spoken. Why is it now that we have, if this data is true, 41% new HIV infections within the youth? Because in schools.
So aren't we seeing that because ARVs, essentially, what they would do is they suppress the virus.
Yes.
So you're healthy. You look healthy. You're operating properly. Nobody's going to imagine. So that also plays in the minds of people, doesn't it? Because you can say, okay, fine. We also have people who are taking the prophylaxis after having engaged in sexual activity with people they don't even know who they are. So they take this prophylaxis, hoping that it will take care of any possible infections. We have people sharing prophylaxis.
Yes.
I have one, you have one, we've shared my dose, kind of some absolute, you know, almost grotesque holy communion of this prophylaxis that's going on. But more interestingly, you talk about why don't we have prevention? Please help us understand. Because if we look at statistics that we've come across, and we share this all the time, that between Friday evening and Monday morning in Kenya, in pharmacies and medical facilities, the highest percentage of medication that is purchased by young people, these adolescents that you're talking about, is emergency contraception. It's not condoms.
No, it's not condoms.
It is emergency contraception. So what does that tell you? This prevention is not in the minds of people anymore. We are more afraid of getting pregnant than we are of getting a sexually transmitted infection.
Language. That's the language. They're saying, I would rather protect myself from getting pregnant than I don't care about HIV. In fact, they think most of them are thinking it's just a story because the medication is there and the medication was free if you get there. But now, this time we cannot be quiet anymore because we'll be overwhelmed. In absence of the life-sustaining medication being available for free and us rolling out new HIV cases daily, this is a collapsing health system.
Because it wasn't adolescents that were being infected at this rate before. We just talked about there was a generation that disappeared where we had grandparents taking care of. There are many, many stories of adults today who were raised by their grandparents in areas that were high infection rates of HIV. Today, adolescents, 13 to 18-year-olds being infected with HIV by 41% is ridiculously high.
And remember, this is not mother-to-child transmission. No, this is contact. And contact through sex for that age group. And we cannot tell them, you cannot go and meet your fantasies because that's the time when they're really ready for it. So what do we do? Talk about abstinence or talk about protection? You know, we have to really break the silence on this, go out of our way, start visiting the institutions, but who will fund, have class readers that are talking about health and prevention of HIV and other lifestyle diseases. Like that girl was saying, she read a book that we were marketing in one of the schools, and the book gave them the message that really made most of them not really scared, but they were scared, but the fear made them cautious.
You see, when you talk about the generation that got this message at the time, one would say that over time, these messages just stopped. So you find the current young people and the Gen Zs of right now pretty much have never come across anyone talk to them about HIV and the risks that do exist. So you find there is that information gap that does exist, you know. And with that then, also with the fact that perhaps information that is there is they know I will take an e-pill because I don't want to get pregnant, right?
Yeah. Yes.
But no one is harming, is pounding information on there is also HIV AIDS, that once you get it is a lifetime disease that you have to deal with. That information is lacking. That together with the fact that I know I can take prophylaxis, that I can deal with that. Therefore, people have generally just become lazy and do not care about HIV because we have ARVs and prophylaxis. So at the end of the day, my biggest problem is fearing to get pregnant.
Yes.
But now we don't have those ARVs.
Yes. Yeah, but that's where we need to be as media houses, as health advocates, as people in the health space. I don't know how we are going to get the funding to do awareness, because at the end of it, everything is about funding. Otherwise, what we are calling universal healthcare will not be sustainable if we are not doing awareness, if we are not teaching prevention, and not just to the adolescents. I would say right from grade 3, 7, 8 years, we should start the conversation. We cannot say they are too young to hear. No, with the social media, there is nothing, there is a taboo.
Oh, no, I mean, doctors tell us that the minute a child can tell that there's a difference between them and if they're female, them and a male, then it's not too early to start having these conversations with them. Is it too active or too serious of a conversation to seriously be talking about prevention on the scale that it was done in the 1990s, whereby this prevention thing, some people had to even change the language that they used during these campaigns because it was not politically correct or all of this, but it was an intensive campaign. But it's stuck in the, like I said, it's stuck in the minds of people. Are we going back there, Emily?
We have to go back there. I remember there was a gentleman who sang a song, Usinione ni menana, ukadhani ni kopo.
Yeah, I remember.
Usinione, you know that song? It had Bengine ni napita. There's a song like that, but he was trying to pass a message on prevention and also not judging me by the way I look. Okay, the issues of stigma came by, but even if we talk to the people who are living positive, there are people who really care for, like the adults, they care for their children. They will not like their children to go through what they go through, because even with the ARVs, they still have a lot of side effects. So it's not anything that you would wish somebody else, somebody you love, somebody you care to go through. So I would just call on parents. I would call on stakeholders. I would call on the media. We have to put our heads together and not just wait and say serikali tusaidie. Because the minute you are saying serikali tusaidie, when something has happened in your family, at the end of it, Kenyatta Hospital, Ministry of Health, Minister for Health, even the county government will not be there to go through the psychological, emotional suffering and even the social stigma that you have to go through. Because at this rate, if we cannot access ARVs and the situation gets back to where we see those, the images we used to see before, then that means we shall not even control stigma.
Emily, we've talked about discussing HIV, you know, this message needs to get there. And for a very long time, we've toyed around with the idea of having sex education in our school curriculum at a very young age. There are those who are for it, there are those who are saying it is not proper to introduce our children into these conversations. But like we've said, Ndu, the moment a child is able to differentiate between a boy and a child,
girl,
it is the right time to have this discussion. Is it about time that we just saw we are unable to afford ARVs as a country, as an individual? It's even difficult to do that. And perhaps let's go full throttle, have this discussion at an early age, because prevention is better than cure.
And they're having sex anyway.
And there is no cure, by the way.
Truth.
They are saying, I was talking to a colleague yesterday, and was saying that in the rural areas, maybe in the urban areas, we are talking about social media influence. But I was saying in the rural areas, you are there, and the goats they are doing it. So how will you tell that child? For how long will you tell that child they are fighting? Are you getting me? So even at that early age, they are able to see what is happening. Much as the urban, we are being influenced by the social media. So the hypocrisy, how we're putting a curtain, a transparent curtain, pretending that we are protecting ourselves, it shall not work. That game of postponing what should be done today should be over, because this conversation should have started the minute Trump said in January, we are cutting health funding. We should have started that conversation. What shall we do with our children? And the advantage we have is that this generation we are talking about, they're in primary schools, they're in secondary schools, they are in the universities. If we engaged and we formed peer-to-peer health clubs in schools and train those who are the peer educators, and then we stock the school libraries with health education materials, that when they meet, even at parade, they can read a chapter, communicate and discuss, then it shall be able to open and enable them to make informed choices in life. Because the echo of what you hear, the echo of what you read, even in the absence of the person who was speaking to you, it will ring a bell. Then you'll say, really? Do I want to take this knife that will cut me? And I was told that this knife, even if I try to hold it properly, unless I seal it completely, it will hurt me. Someone will think twice. So the conversation must begin now.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, with often says that with technology, with development, with many things, our eyes will open. So hadn't we, maybe we shouldn't be so surprised that, you know, there's a lot more exploration and curiosity now because there's a lot more information. We are, after all, living in the information age.
Yes.
And that we should have expected that this would happen and that we should have been prepared for it and that not just, you know, waited for something else. And I'm talking about the increased infections that we see amongst younger people. That there's a curiosity, there is an exploration that's taking place. We should have expected that. So maybe on some point, all stakeholders together in concert drop the ball.
Yes.
Because we just imagined that, you know, well, we've got the infections down, everybody's okay. Yeah. Forgetting that there are people who are coming up the chain.
Yes, there are people who are coming up. And we also knew that all along we have the medication. So it does not matter. Somebody will provide the medication. So, but now without the medication, that's what I want to emphasize. Without the donor funding, what are we going to do about health funding? What are we going to do about developing our own ARVs, the life-saving medication? And then it has also taken so long to come up even with an HIV vaccine. Yeah, which I believe, you know, here in Kenya and Africa, we have very bright brains.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We have even the natural medicine.
True.
We have people who are able to experiment with the herbs and what the nature has to offer us. We should have been able to come up with HIV prevention medicine or even treatment. Treatment now, no, leave alone the life-sustaining medicine. Even the actual treatment that can be able to flush out the virus completely from the system and restore it to its original form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for real, we shouldn't be having these conversations just 2 days before and 2 days after December 1st every year.
No.
There should be a daily conversation in terms of what we need to do. No life should be lost and compromised because of something that can be prevented.
It is very true.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
And so it's our hope that this conversation goes beyond the 1st of December and that it's an everyday conversation until it can be wiped out. We've seen things been wiped out before. This can actually be done as well. Thank you for the work that you do, and also that we can have this conversation with you. And it's our hope that as we work together, we see these. We can go to zero. We can actually go to zero.
I want to invite you. I've started I told you I'm a health advocate, non-state actor. So last year, I started a campaign to form the health clubs in schools, and actually have the go-ahead from the Ministry of Education. Fortunately, or unfortunately, in 2020, I wrote a book on HIV, TB, and COVID-19, which is approved by Ministry of Health and Ministry of Education. And I've been urging people, can we use it so that we educate, we carry out the health education
for our children
in schools? You know, the health education in schools, simplified, and they can be able to use it. So I started the campaign this year where I want every school library to get 20 copies of the books, the alumni of the schools and wherever. It is not for me, for my benefit. It is for the benefit of the nation. Because tomorrow, maybe your son 5 or 10 years from now, he might want to come and quote my granddaughter. So that information really matters to me. When we safeguard other people's children or the generations, we are safeguarding our collective future.
Indeed.
And saving the world and removing the shame from Africa that we cannot clean ourselves.
Right.
We have to wait for
somebody else to come
for
and
the foreigners to come and clean us. Let's learn to clean after ourselves.
Good message to end on. Emily Mukomunene is a health rights and advocacy champion, has been here. What a great message to then be able to end on. Thank you so much for joining us in the Situation Room this morning. And everybody, thank you for being here this Thursday at 10:01. Enjoy the rest of your listening and join us again for more conversations, God willing, tomorrow morning. Ndu and Dennis saying thank you. Talk again tomorrow. Good morning.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Edwin Lisamira. Deputy President Kithure Kindiki hosted 60 Kenya Kwanza MPs at his current residence on Wednesday for Thanksgiving. Writing on X, Kindiki said they reviewed progress in the implementation of key development projects and programs in their constituencies and agreed on mechanisms for expediting the completion of ongoing projects. He thanked the MPs for their dedication and commitment to UDA, saying the election of Mayor and North MP Leonard Wamuthende in the recent by-elections was a product of teamwork. Nyamweya Governor Amos Njeri has urged county leaders to unite and focus on development after surviving